Hello friends, welcome back to another Off the Cuff chat ramble saga with me, FPL Mez, and today I've got a really special guest on all the way from the UK. So, you know, those that don't know, good morning from me over here in Australia, but I've got a fantastic guest, Charlie, FPL Meerkat on the socials, all the way from the UK, and we've got like a 11 hour, I think it's about 11 hours or maybe 9 hour time difference, I'm not entirely sure. But it's so wonderful to have you while I'm sipping coffee, and it's about 10 p.m. gone over there for you, Charlie?
Yeah, it's 10 p.m. currently. I've actually got a cup of tea myself, actually.
Oh, do you?
Just to
Okay.
get me going, yeah. But yeah, pleasure to be on. Pleasure to be on.
Yeah, thank you so much again. I know, like, we tried to, I tried to get you on last season, but unfortunately, we couldn't make that happen. I had to travel back to the UK very, suddenly. But I'm so glad that we can chat now, and that too in pre-season and ahead of the new season. And yeah, it's really for me at least, in the time that I've been doing this show and just chatting to everyone. It's very, like I say, off the cuff. It's very rambly. I didn't really go too far with the show's name. I kept it really simple, and it's just my way of sharing my FPL journey and getting guests on to help me with my journey, especially, but also get to know other people from the FPL community as well. And so, Yeah, I guess this particular pre-season series type of thing that I'm doing. So, last week I had a couple of guests on from the Sydney community, or Australian community, and we were chatting about just the chips and the new things that FPL have introduced, and we probably ranted about the website a bit too long as well. But it was a nice chat just to get to know the new things that are happening, and honestly, I'm a little bit behind with like things like drafting. So today we're going to be talking about draft strategy. And when I say draft strategy, it's going to be things like, how we structure the team, how we start thinking about the players that we're bringing in, what sort of things should we be thinking about when we're looking at the fixtures and looking ahead. And of course, we've got a mammoth amount of chips now as well, and lots of free transfers towards AFCON. And so, whilst we may not cover absolutely everything in this particular stream, we'll definitely start talking about players and drafts and just structure of our teams. As I'm starting on the journey of drafting anyway. We're still about 2 weeks out, so still a fair bit of time to go. Lots can change. There's lots of transfers happening. Charlie and I are both Liverpool supporters, and Liverpool are not done in the transfer market at the moment, so
No, they're not.
plenty of things going on. So yeah, look, please do like and subscribe. Really do appreciate you guys that have tuned in. Thanks again for being here. So Charlie, like before we, get going, it'd be really good to have a chat a little bit about you. So, I know, so I met you for the first time a couple of years ago now. I think it was back in 2022, maybe, or 2023. Where are we? Maybe 2023 at one of the meets in
Yeah,
London.
yeah, it was because I started doing this at the beginning of 2022. So yeah, it would have been the end of the 2022-23 season
Yeah.
before all of my stuff started taking off when I was just still doing it as a like totally for fun and for I just went to the meets in London and met everyone, and that's kind of like that was kind of the start of like getting involved with the community, just like going out on a limb. Went there by myself. I live in Cheltenham, so going to London was still like it was quite a
Yeah.
trek. It was still like a 3 hour train journey for me,
Oh, wow.
but really glad I did it because meant that I met so many amazing members of the community, like the in-person community as well, which is just everyone was super lovely. It was just a really lovely environment. Yeah, I really really remember that time. Two years ago, I think it was. Yeah, two
Yeah,
years ago.
that's right. Gosh, time has definitely flown. I met so many people that day, and I remember, I was quite nervous, about popping over, but it just worked out really well because I was flying out that evening from London back to Sydney, and but it was a late night flight, so I had plenty of time. So it was really nicely timed. So I was able to pop into London, and my parents live in Croydon, and so it was quite easy for me to jump on a train and get over to London Bridge and walk over. But yeah, it was so lovely to meet everyone. It was great to meet you in person. And you're right, there's something quite nice about like just meeting in person. And we've got a really big community over here in Australia. So big shout out to everyone that's tuned in for a breakfast stream over here in Australia. But yeah, we've got a really nice tight community. But it was so nice to meet others from on the other side of the world as well. And I'm from the UK, so I feel quite close to a lot of people, and now the FPL community over in the UK as well, because I'm regularly there. But Charlie, it would be really good to hear about some of the content that you've been putting out, and some of the things that you've been doing. Because whilst, like, obviously, I met you in person a couple of years ago, and it was around that sort of time I think you mentioned that you started putting together some tables and charts and things like that. Yeah, where did that all start? Because now I feel like I know you from, all these amazing threads that you do, and team selection, like predictions and things like that as well.
Yeah, well, I started off just making so FPL Meerkat, it was literally just a account. I wanted to interact with the FPL community back in 2022. So this was like May time, so very, very much at the end of the season. I just saw loads of people talking about it on Twitter and thought, oh, I'll make a Twitter account. Obviously, it was called Twitter back then too, and just interact with people. And then at the start of the 22-23 season, I just started to make YouTube videos. I started to make just team selection videos. I've kind of really stopped with the YouTube stuff now because it's just it's a lot of work to make
Yeah.
YouTube content, I've found, and as I found out, the Twitter stuff has been a lot more popular. So I've
Oh,
just kind of continued with
totally.
that.
Your threads are amazing. Honestly,
Yeah, I mean, it's quite nice to see because I feel like I just did it as a hobby. I did it as a hobby, creating all these data tables, and I still do. I still do it as a hobby. It's just now, rather than it being I'm making it and only like 10, 20 people are seeing it, it's now thousands, which
yeah.
is absolutely still mind-boggling to me. That happens. But yeah, it's just I just create certain things really around the data. A lot of things that I've always put it out for free as well, just on Twitter.
Nice.
The different threads. So what I did so a bit about me. I did a master's in sports analysis. And what I found was my strength during that course was being able to take all these complicated sets of data that are about and just making them easy to look at and just getting the important things. So I probably make stuff that the really like in-depth, super tactical, super analytical managers, my stuff's probably not all that useful. But the general audience who just
Yeah.
want to take all this really complicated stuff and just need something that's quick and easy, I think my stuff is quite appealing. It's the color coding for it. I just give you the simple stuff. So I mean, we've got on screen here the defensive contributions.
Yeah.
I saw plenty of content going around. Great content still of people saying, this defender's really good because he gets lots of tackles. This person's really good because he gets lots of interceptions. The problem with that is that these CBIT points, clearances,
Yeah.
blocks, interceptions, tackles, you need 10 of them total to get the points. It doesn't really matter. If you look through the table, as you can see, it doesn't really matter how many tackles or interceptions a player makes. It is all about the clearances. You can see in
Yeah.
those
Interesting.
tables the clearances, and for the midfielders there, you can see the recoveries. Those are the key ones. So for the midfielders here, the recoveries are
Yeah.
what you're really focused on because they make up almost over a third of the total contributions to get those points. So I thought, let's just make a table where you can see and color code it to
Yeah.
see is this player, do they reach the threshold or not?
Yeah.
Or are they close to reaching the threshold of 12, obviously, for midfielders? And just put it up on the table rather than it
Yeah.
being,
It's
like Wan-Bissaka's the one I've been seeing a lot. He's really
yes.
good at tackles, so he must be really good for the defensive contributions. He's not actually as good as you think he might be because he doesn't clear the ball. He doesn't whack the ball long. If he tackled someone and then whacked the ball long, he'd be really good, but
Yeah.
he doesn't. So
No,
yeah.
honestly, I as a user, I guess, of your content or a consumer of your content, I do look out for your tables. They are super user friendly. Look, I work in the space of making good designs, and I work in digital and design, like from a service design user experience sort of perspective, and so. I'm looking at a lot of things like data a lot of the time, and sometimes like it depends on like how much like I'm giving weight to the type of data I'm looking at. But it's like you say, if you can make data interesting and valuable and just simple, like you say, for the masses, that's all people are looking for. And so I found it as someone who's time poor to just take a nice glance at it and get the information that I need and try and make some or use it as part of my decision making process. I'm not using it entirely to pick the players that you've suggested, but to use that in contribution to other things that are out there as well. And I think that's what's really important about data and playing a game, like FPL. You've got to watch some of the football as well. It's so difficult for us over here, just being on the other
Yeah.
side of the world, and sometimes our deadlines are like 5 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. Other times the deadlines are, not too bad, and we can manage it, and everyone's rushing over there in the UK. But if there isn't enough time and you're still making decisions about players, this is, I usually reach to your content, and there's a couple of others in the FPL community as well, where at a glance I can get the information that I need and make a decision as well. So yeah, thank you for putting out such great content, in the form of threads, and sharing it, for free as well with the community. It's, very much appreciated. How much time do you end up spending on stuff like this, though?
It depends. So I'm a teacher. So currently it's the summer holidays. So I have plenty of free time to work
Brilliant.
on this kind of stuff. Usually it's just like an hour or two, sometimes in the evenings if I've got it free. What I tend to do is, so because it's the pre-season, I'm just making all kinds of different things. Think like looking at what people might find useful, getting it out there, like
Yeah.
all sorts of kind of things. But what I've tended to do now is try to make game weekly things to keep people engaged and to make things useful. So the two popular ones that people seem to have liked a lot has been the goals conceded thread,
Yeah.
which is showing basically for people who don't know, it's a graphic that shows all the goals that a team have conceded
Yeah.
as like a literal shot map, and showing what position was
Yeah.
scored for
From the
each of
zone.
those.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it was a silly little idea I thought. Like I found the tweet back from like 2023 saying, "Does anyone do anything like this?" Because I haven't seen it anywhere,
No,
so I
I
just
don't think
did
anyone
it.
does. Yeah.
I just did it, and yeah, it's interesting because it's. I think you made a really good point earlier about I don't make stuff to say this is who you should be picking. I make stuff that shows you all of the data and visualize it like this to make people make the decision themselves. Here's
Yeah.
the data, you make the call. So I'll recommend people based on this, but very rarely will I turn someone away from a player. Like
Yeah.
I had someone share their draft, say, "Oh, what do you think about my draft?" And it had Cunha and Dorgu in it. And in my head, I was like, "Well, I'm not really looking at those players because Man United haven't got very good fixtures. They're new
Yeah.
players. We don't really know what they're going to be." But then I realized very clearly that person was a Man United fan. And I'm not going to tell them, don't pick your players that you clearly want to do well in this game because FPL is about enjoyment. And, I think we get confused about being optimal because
That's
FPL is
right.
it's a random game. It's a
It's a
random
random
sport. We don't
game. Yeah.
know what's going to be good. And at the end of a season, are you going to remember those times where you picked up fairly good points from players who you knew were good anyway, template picks? Or
Yeah.
are you going to remember those like massive hauls from the
Yeah.
player who no one else had, your favorite player? I mean, I'm going to be honest. I was really sad about I hate to bring it up, but the whole Jota news because
Yeah.
he
My
was
gosh.
genuinely one of my
One of my
favorite players
favorites.
on this
Yeah.
game because I
Yeah.
remember moments when I had him and he got massive scores.
Yeah.
Obviously being a Liverpool fan as well. But yeah, I think there's a lot about there's a lot to picking players that you want to do well as well. So yeah, I
Yeah.
provide data for people to make their own judgments rather than simply saying this person's good, pick this person because I've got
That's
him, and
right.
then we'll all have the same team.
Yeah. You know what? So the three things that, I guess now I'll definitely be sort of keeping an eye on. So I was looking at the shot map data, and that's very sort of, when I'm 50-50 about a couple of players here and there, from different teams. I'll look at the shot map data just to kind of get an idea of, like, based on who they're playing, and especially if I'm thinking about my bench order, that sort of stuff, then yeah, I'll look at that. And then the predicted lineups is the other one that I found super
Yeah.
useful. And I think more recently some of this stuff that you've been doing, as well. So around the I guess the tables and the new rules and new things that we've got to look forward to, as well. Charlie, going back to like getting to know you a little bit better, how long have you been playing FPL? It's been that's a long time. That's like
A
10
decade.
years, 11,
Yeah,
11
a
years there.
decade. I
Yeah.
did I did miss a year there. So the ranks will raise some eyebrows, and I can give context about these ranks. So I'm 26. So back in that first season, I am, what am I, 15, I think,
Yeah.
14, 15 years old. I'm a kid, just liking watching, Premier League football. I've just made a random team, playing the
Yeah.
game as it is. I'm not really like it's funny because I feel like a lot of people get embarrassed by their rank history.
Nah.
I think this just shows me as a person in terms of my rank, in terms of how I my involvement in the game. So those first three you can see all in the millions. That was just me making a team. I'm pretty sure I gave up on most of those seasons whenever it started going bad.
Yeah.
I just gave up. I don't really remember them very well. I do remember I think I had Mane, Firmino, and Salah just all in
Yeah.
my team constantly. And then
Don't blame
I think
you.
there's actually a year missing there as well. Yeah, 15, 16, I didn't even play the game. Then 18, 19 is when I actually started like playing full
Okay.
seasons.
Yeah.
Obviously didn't know fully what I was doing. I didn't really, I still picked I picked based on my favorites. I took lots of hits. I played it basically for just totally for fun. And as you can see there, 21, 22 is when I actually had a good season.
Yeah.
That was mainly because I started to actually play
Play.
properly, like involve myself in content, understand that understanding football and understanding FPL are two quite different things in terms of what's going to get you points in this game. The other two seasons there, 22, 23, and then 23, 24. My ranks haven't been they're not too good for someone who's quite heavily involved, I think, for myself. The main reason was I played to win. I played to
Yeah.
win the game. I didn't play to have a good rank. I
Yeah.
played to try and win it. So I made lots
That's
of
interesting.
bold
Yeah.
calls, lots of transfers. I distinctly remember the 23-24 season. I put out lots of content recommending the Palace players during their double game week, and I even recommended during my goals conceded Fred Mateta as the best captaincy for his double game week, and obviously I think he got 28 points or something
Yeah.
like that.
I remember
And
this. Yeah.
unfortunately, I didn't follow my advice. I didn't get in any Palace players, and yeah, essentially I was in the top 100K at that point, and then I just absolutely plummeted based on that one game week. But I had lots of people replying to my content saying, "Thank you for
This is
recommending
great.
Mateta as a captain," and I
Yeah.
was like, "Great, I just need to follow this myself now."
Actually, that's
Yeah.
that's a good point. And how do you balance that? Because, when you're putting out content, so like in my case, like I don't see myself as a content creator or anything like that. I'm like, sharing my journey and just kind of rambling, and it's nice to be able to do that and get some feedback and get some suggestions and advice, that kind of thing. But like you said, I'm, like you, I'm not really saying go pick this player or anything like that. I'm just talking through my thought process and picking players, and there's been occasions where I've had guests on and I've sort of gone, yeah, I really think this player is going to go big, and I've not brought them in my own team, and it's not
Yeah.
because I can't, I don't back them. It's because my team structure may not allow bringing that player in, or how many ever transfers I have. But how do you balance the advice that you're giving, or at least the data that you're presenting, and the players that you feel good about, and then not bringing them into your own team as well? Or like you say, looking at the ranks, you don't need to necessarily, I don't think anyway, my personal opinion, I don't think you need to have a good rank to share data or be sharing content or giving people perspectives and advice, because that's what it is. It's perspectives.
It's a really good question. I mean, I've had plenty of comments in the past of people saying, well, if you're recommending this player and you haven't brought them in, then why are you recommending them if you don't back your own advice? And I understand it. I really understand it from that point of view. It's really interesting in terms of balancing it. I think ultimately when you make content, you're not going to make content all the way up until the deadline. And FPL is constantly about decision making and your mind changing and getting new information and constantly changing on the fly. So if I make a piece of content recommending someone 2 days before the deadline, my mind might have completely changed in 2 days' time. But I haven't got time to make a new piece of content But at the same time, I don't want to go back on myself and say, hang on, well, I'm not doing this, so you shouldn't.
Yeah.
So it's kind of why I've more tailored my content now, more towards showing the data, showing thought process, and then basically saying, that you can follow this train of thought if you
Mm.
want, not it being like this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I don't like to just post a team and then copy and paste this to do well. I like to show thought process. I have used my threads in the past to mixed success. I'll tell you what, FPL Challenge was a really good way of testing it because
Yes.
FPL Challenge you could make a new team every week. So what I would do is make a team every week that used strictly the goals conceded thread to see if it worked.
Ah,
It was a really good way of testing it, and it
nice.
had very mixed. Like some weeks, I'd get like completely all hits, and
Mm.
it would feel amazing. Some weeks I had none because the data didn't follow the norm. It's interesting because I've never definitively looked at the goals conceded thread and gone, yeah, this works or this doesn't work. There's
Yeah.
never any definite about it. It's always been, can it? Like
Yeah.
just make it for a week, recommend it, does it work? And I think for certain cases it did. I mean, I still remember from last season the whole with Southampton. Just I found from game week 8. I made the post and I put it in from game week 8. Southampton, God, you see this cluster here of right wingers. They really have a problem conceding goals from right wingers, Southampton.
Yeah.
And I kept banging this drum basically for the entire season, saying right wingers are really good at Southampton. And then all of a sudden, I started watching content creators talking about how, oh, I heard somewhere that right wingers are good against that. Like, and I've looked at it, and it's true. And I was like, I think that was me. I think that was me. That's the trend. But and that was quite funny because they had no idea where it had come from.
Yeah.
But it felt like, I mean, I then started picking right wingers against Southampton, and it started working. They
That's
started returning.
great.
I think Bowen returned or something. I
Yeah.
know. I remember that Sarr was one of the ones that didn't, and I got a lot of hate
Mm.
for that because it was like, I picked Sarr and he's a right winger and he hasn't scored, and I'm like, guys, it's not foolproof. It's just recommendations. It's not always going to work.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, there you go. Like for everyone listening, yeah, play, close attention to the shot maps and the goals conceded, thread that Charlie does. It's definitely useful, and I've definitely found it useful. That's brilliant, though. But yeah, Charlie, thank you for sharing some of that. It's like in comparison, I've only been playing five. This will be my fifth season. So I started in the 21-22 season, and yeah, didn't have a clue what I was doing. But I finished top
oh,
200k
excellent,
still. So
excellent ranks. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
like
that 22, 23 is, yeah. I mean, that's when you're at the meets. Was
yeah, that's
was
it.
was
Yeah,
remarkable. I think you were. I think I remember because I was keeping track of the rank. I think you were the second best there. I'm pretty sure, or very close to being. There was someone who was
yeah.
like, there was someone who was in the top 50 that could genuinely win the game. I remember that. But I think you were one of the highest there.
Yeah, it was honestly, it was a really good. I think that's where, like, the first season, I was like, oh, I've got to learn everything about FPL, and I was watching lots of videos and consuming a lot of content and just getting to know a lot of different strategies and ways of playing. And I think that's just how I normally approach like a new subject. And so,
Mm,
yeah, for me, it was just consume as much as possible and then, apply that in the next season. And that's basically what I did in that season. But a lot of
mm,
it is luck, right? A lot of it is luck, and luck was also on my
yeah.
side, in that season. But yeah, my 23-24 season is where I was in the millions for so long. I was like 4 million,
Oh,
5 million for a very long time, and then eventually sort of finished 64k. And then yeah, last season was a bit of a shitstorm for me. I hardly watched any games, hardly was around as well. But to finish around that sort of top 30k ish, is, yeah, I'm really happy with that. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to season 5 for me. Going in and looking forward to playing again and yeah, having a bit of fun. I think based on the new things that we've got now to work with, I feel like I'm going to be playing a bit more casual this season, just because
Interesting.
there's a lot more chips. I don't know if I
Mm.
want to do as much planning as I did previous seasons. I think because it's been so long, that I feel like I've been playing for a long time. I'm only hitting season 5 for me, but yeah, I'm at that point where I don't know if I want to spend a shit ton of time, looking at data, watching as much football as I've done in previous sort of seasons. It's just because of the
Mm.
timing and, all of that. So I'm going to try and play like a casual this season and still share my journey and see how it goes. So that
Nice.
means not looking at a lot of data, but we are going to be sharing a bit of data. So I'll still be looking at your threads, Charlie.
Nice.
But
Good. Good to
I'm
hear.
I'm definitely going to be consuming less content this season, just because
Mm.
I don't know if I want to give it as much time as I have done, and I just want to see how I go and just play a little bit differently this season, and yeah, just give it a go. But anyway,
It's going to be
it's
I was going
yeah,
to say there's a
sorry.
lot of noise this season. I think that this season's going to be the toughest one there's ever been in terms of the amount of players and just how many new things we've got to factor in with the new
Yeah,
chips, the defense contributions, the AFCON transfers coming in. There is so many
there's
new
so much.
things. But it's genuinely it's made me so excited because I'm looking around on Twitter and every time I make a post about a player or a draft or anything like that, without fail, I will get one person that passionately agrees and one person that passionately disagrees. And I love that. I love that people are loving and hating because it means that we're all going to be doing something different rather
Yeah,
than it's felt fairly templatey recently.
yeah.
But yeah, I
That's
feel like it's
That's
going to be
such a good
so
point. That's
different.
such a good point. I didn't really think about it, from that lens that there's going to be a lot more, variation in how we're playing and differences between everyone, and I think we saw a little bit of that last season. Like there was quite a few swings last season. I think partially because of like the number of transfers everyone was able to roll, play mini wildcards. I don't know if you got around to rolling like five transfers any of the game weeks, but yeah, I found it really challenging. I just kind of kept making the transfers. I didn't really enjoy
Mm.
the assistant manager chip. There was massive swings around that. I'm glad that that's gone, this season. But you're right. There's going to be so much to consider, and I think there's probably a good sort of segue to jump to one of your threads around, some of the defensive contribution. I'll sort of flick through these. I think I can kind of go through. Yeah, I can. That's
Oh,
brilliant.
perfect. I didn't even realize that
Even
was,
better.
yeah, that wasn't even
Yeah, that
intentional,
was a
but
thing. Yeah. So threads are really helpful because you can just flick through them, and obviously
yeah.
you've got a bit more information on the actual the tweet, I guess, or post
Mm.
itself. But yeah, I mean, just defensive contributions in general. How have you found, like, just jumping straight into this particular part,
Yeah.
as we sort of start drafting, I guess keeping drafting in mind. So one of the things that we'll do for those that are, listening as well, we'll start sort of looking at, team structure. So I've, popped this together. I quite like looking at teams from a price point perspective. So, what I've got on the screen for those that might be tuning in from audio only, a goalkeeper maybe around that sort of 5 million and under, mark, and then roughly, a price structure of like 6 mil, 5 mil, 4.5 mil, in the defense, and then around that 14.5, which is, your Salah pick, for example, an under player, maybe a 10.5, that's your Palmer kind of thing. Just a rough idea of a pricing structure, just to try and, draft a balanced team is typically how I've been thinking about, doing
Mm.
drafting as well. But, as we sort of go through some of the, I guess the new picks that are on the block because of the defensive contributions, right? Like they've just made all these other, players a bit more
Yeah.
viable to pick.
I don't know how popular this camp is, but I absolutely love the defensive contribution edition. And I'm really happy because I made a tweet saying, this is how I would add defensive contributions into the game. And they've almost exactly done that. But my idea was five defensive contributions and you get 1 point. And
Yeah,
they've doubled
okay.
it. They've doubled it. They made
Yeah,
it 10, you get two.
yeah.
And it's just a cap. which is great because I don't know if you've played the UCL fantasy
No,
game.
I barely have
They
time for
had defense.
FPL.
Yeah, I just did it. I literally did my team like 30 minutes before the deadline every week, and
Yeah,
I got a way better rank by spending less
there
less
you
time.
go.
But yeah, in that game they had defensive contributions, and you got 1 point for every three ball recoveries, I think it was.
Yeah.
And it was stupid because you had players getting 18 in a game, which meant that they got 6 points. So you'd have a defender that lost a clean sheet but got 8 points, which didn't make any sense. So I'm very glad they've capped it, and they've clearly done a lot of testing into how
Yeah.
this works. Given that they've done 10 for defenders, 12 for midfielders, but it includes recoveries. They've clearly really well thought it out.
Yeah.
And I think they are. It's nice. It's really made us consider centre backs so we never did before, and defensive mids have genuine viability.
Yeah.
And I guess getting onto it. So especially with the midfielders, how I've perceived it and how they've shown it in terms of these tables,
I'm going to be
showing
taking
how the
notes as well.
how the points how the points changed if you applied it from last season. These cheap midfielders, obviously, they're the same price as the defensive mids. The defensive mids outclass them like massively. They showed that Caicedo, Anderson's another good one. Christie, Belieber, Andre from Gomez from Wolves, João Gomez as well. These central slash defensive midfielders are getting over a season well over 100 points, 140
Yeah.
points. Considering their price, like they are getting the same amount of points. I think they showed as like a Matoma who's 6.5, and they're completely outclassing anyone who is still a cheap
Yeah.
attacker, more attacking player, like I say an Adingra. I know he actually scored today,
Yes.
but an Adingra, Arias, I think is another one.
Yeah.
Just through consistency of getting those 2 points every week. So, how I've looked at it in terms of a team structure
Yeah.
is always just having one of these players in the midfield. So, whereas previously it would be a spot that I completely disregard,
Yeah.
I just jump up point 0.5 or 1 million in some cases for that spot. And that is my seventh attacker that I am essentially going to rotate with my fourth defender. I'm going to play. I'm going to have three defenders that I rotate between. If all three have a good fixture, I just
Yeah.
play a back four. If one of them has a bad fixture, I just put in the defensive mid and hope he gets a 4-pointer.
Yeah.
And those 2 point, like people will look at it and be, yeah, but don't you want a player who can go get you 7, 8 points, score a goal? Yes, that is exciting, but consistency, getting that 4-pointer every single week, it will add up over a
Yeah.
season.
Yeah.
And I
No,
think a
that's
lot
really
of people
good.
are not going to want to go there. So
Yeah.
I'm going to be there early doors and hope
Yeah.
it's the right strategy, basically.
Yeah, I'm taking notes and just chucking them on my board at the moment, which doesn't have a lot of planning, but I quite like doing sort of physical planning with post-it notes and it's kind of similar to how I'm doing the virtual board as well. So yeah, I'll try and sort of take notes as I go. So Charlie, if we go through your data
Yeah.
and the defensive contributions, what we'll do is we'll flick through each of the teams and obviously not thinking about the fixtures at the moment, but which of the defensive, like I guess from a contribution point of view. So we've got the midfielders over here. I will jump to the defense first, and we'll start there.
Yeah.
Let's have a chat about like who you reckon like from each of these teams that are worth considering in the team. Obviously fixture dependent as well.
Yeah.
So like it's funny because while I was doing the drafts and with this new change as well, I would typically be thinking about a Gabriel or Saliba in my team, and Arsenal defense have been like a staple in all of our drafts for such a long time, right? But now I'm looking at this and thinking, do I go there? Maybe because it's still better than, Timber or, for example, Lewis Skelly that you've got, for Arsenal in this table at the moment. But yeah, let's have a look at some of these teams and, which one you'd be leaning towards, not just because the number is high, but just also other attributes of that particular defender as well that we should be considering.
Yeah. Yeah, I've put in what I think are the important bits for this, which
Yeah.
is and I've highlighted them. So yeah, the
Yeah.
data's in the middle, so you can look at each individual bit. But minutes per game, I think is really crucial
Yeah.
because I put the C bit, so C bit clearances, blocks, interceptions, tackles, per game and then per 90. So that's basically you can see 2.6 and then it's a multiplier. So I've divided it by 60, multiplied it by 90 to give
Right.
what it would be over 90 minutes. So that's hypothetical if they get a 90-minute. But you've got to factor in, but why I've put the minutes here, is that player realistically getting 90 minutes?
Yeah.
So there are certain players within the table, and especially with the midfielders, who look really good per 90. Sessegnon is a great one for Fulham, who looks great over
Yeah.
90, but he's never getting to 90
It's not
minutes.
getting
So
there. Yeah.
he's rarely ever going to get the points. So yeah, going team by team, just I guess quickly on each one.
Yeah.
Arsenal don't really make many of the defensive actions at all because they keep so much possession. Saliba's slightly better, I'd say, than Gabriel, just from a minutes perspective. Per
Yeah.
90, it's really close, but yeah, I'd say they're still good picks, right? It's still the Arsenal defense at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They're going to be
Yeah.
good for clean sheet points. I think there are better premiums, which we'll get onto, but I would not steer people away from the Arsenal defense. Still really solid.
Yeah.
Villa, terrible, really terrible for it. Everyone was immediately going on Konza, and I saw loads of posts saying, "Oh, Konza's going to be great for this." Konza's one of the worst in the
Worst.
game. Um, Villa a high possession, don't make many clearances. As you can see there, Konza just doesn't do any of the dirty work, which means he's barely ever getting these points. Uh, Depending on how you feel on the Villa defense, if you think it's pretty good for 4.5, could be nice. If Mings is more nailed than he was last season, he could be the better choice there. But I'm steering clear of the Villa defense. I just
Yeah.
don't like them. They're really bad for these defensive actions.
That's really interesting because I would love to get in on the Villa defensive action just because 4.5 and when we talk about sort of team structures and that I think there's more I guess more options available from that 4.5 price point now, and so yeah, it's an interesting one. But I put Matty Cash in. Probably a little bit of bias there. I've had Matty Cash over the past couple of seasons, a couple of times, and he's done great. Not so much last
Yeah.
season, but the season before, I had him in the team and he kept getting assists as well. So I was leaning towards there just because, I mean, it's high, but also 77 minutes, it was like, yeah, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
John Laws in the chat has just said Moreno as well. Yeah,
Alex Moreno,
4
yeah,
million.
I've included him just because he hasn't he won't get any minutes. But if he
Yeah.
moves clubs, then yeah, he's definitely. And also, I don't think he got many minutes last season,
No, I don't
so
think he did.
his
Yeah.
data wouldn't be very. Like I haven't included Botman for Newcastle because
Yeah,
he
fair.
just didn't play.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but that's interesting. So interesting you're not putting any of your, not, chucking in any Villa defenders in your drafts at the moment.
No. Also, I like my rotations between defenders, and the thing is, Villa's fixtures are good, but they're the good thing about rotation is what you want is really good fixtures and really bad fixtures because then you can play them in the really good fixtures and bench them in the really bad. Villas are quite middle. They're quite in the middle of the road, so I'd have to be consistently playing the
Yeah,
Villa player a lot.
that's a good point.
So
I'm going to
I'm
see if I
not
can get it up. Yeah.
keen on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can go to, where is
But
it?
yeah, well, like it was mainly for my own benefit doing all these defensive actions, and
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
really interesting seeing which teams we already knew which would be good, but yeah, Villa were terrible for it. I was not expecting it, but yeah, they were
Yeah.
they were
So
terrible.
that's the first sort of 8 game weeks there.
Yeah,
And yeah, you
for
can
for
see.
attackers, it's brilliant. It's
Yeah.
brilliant fixed.
Yeah, but from a defensive point of view, yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, like even Everton's away, yeah. So yeah, interesting. And I think like it's interesting to just kind of flick between just looking at the fixture ticker a little bit as we go as well. Like, but
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So moving on to Bournemouth, I mean, Senesi sort of stands out there with 65 minutes,
So
but
yeah, but I was just going to say
not sure.
Bournemouth are the first example I think you can quite see quite clearly where when you've
Mm,
got two centre backs, I don't know if there's a proper term for this, but I think above average, if you listen to their podcast, they
mm,
use it really good as a cat and a dog in terms of defenders. I call it the dirty work. You typically typically with defenders, you either have both of them, like Gabriel Saliba, who are both doing equal amounts of work,
yeah.
I call it the dirty work, but as in that defender who's just getting stuck in. You have one of the centre backs pushing up, making the
Mm,
tackles, making the
mm,
clearances, and the other staying further back. Obviously, you want the one that's doing the dirty work. So, Senesi or Senesi
mm,
was that he was doing all the dirty work. Hoyson wasn't very good, I think, for defensive. Oh no,
yeah.
he was really
He
good, wasn't
was,
he?
yeah, he was good,
He was.
yeah.
Okay, maybe Bournemouth isn't the best example of it, but you can get some centre backs who would just do a
Yeah.
lot more work than the other one. And yeah, Senesi put up really good
Mm,
data for in the limited minutes he has, and now Hoyson is gone.
yeah.
He could potentially be a lot more of a starter. So for 4.5, yeah, he's definitely a consideration for me.
Yeah, yeah. We won't spend sort of like loads of time going across them, but yeah, maybe let's pick out like some of the higher sort of, actually, can we have a quick chat about Brighton?
Yeah,
Because they're an
so
interesting, yeah,
I don't want to get anyone's hopes up because you can see that name there, Capola, who is
yeah,
absolutely crazy. He's the highest of any defender per 90. Now, I've put a little asterisk on players. Those are
yeah,
players who were at a previous club
yeah,
before they joined. So their data we have to take with a pinch of salt because
yeah,
it's about how the team plays, not really about how the player. So unfortunately, Capola's data, that CBIT per 90, it's not going to look like that for Brighton.
yeah,
Included him because he's potentially going to be a starter for Brighton. And obviously those clearances are through the roof. He was really getting stuck in. But unless Brighton drastically change how they play, because they're really high possession, so they're not making many defensive actions, unfortunately, Capola is probably not going to be
yeah,
as amazing as the table makes him look.
yeah, fair, yeah. And I guess like from Chelsea. Yeah, it's really. I'm so on the fence about Chelsea. Like just from a player pool perspective across the board. Like even the João Pedro and Palmer picks aside, but from their defensive side as well. Like Colwill's 5 mil, and I've only started drafting just in the last couple of days a bit more. Just kind of playing around with the price points and the players and all of that. And obviously Cucurella, 6 million, Colwill, five, and you got Reece James there, lower numbers from the minutes point of view, but 5.5. But the fixtures are looking good, right, for Chelsea, and so you then go,
Yeah.
oh, where do I go there? But then you look at this table and you go, okay, that's not great, but it's not the worst either.
Yeah, so I've gone quite heavy in terms of defense on the defensive actions just because I think they will be pretty powerful. We haven't actually touched a single defender that I've got in my drafts because these teams I don't think they're not very good for them. Collins is good there, you can see,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
for Chelsea, yeah, they're more expensive. Again, there's still a decent defense. You can certainly go for them. Like if they're low defensive actions, it probably means they're probably quite a good defense. Like they're keeping the
yeah.
ball a lot. But yeah, they're just not for me. The uncertainty as well, exactly who's going to play. They're a little bit more expensive this year. Rotations, I couldn't find many that I really liked. So yeah, not for me. But yeah, Cucurella is an interesting one in terms of his attacking output.
Attack,
Certainly,
yeah.
yeah.
And I
I
think
will
that's
just
the
say
other
as
thing to
well.
bear in mind, the attacking output as well as, if you can find that balance, then yeah, even better.
I was just going to say the promoted teams aren't on here because their data is pointless because it's going to
Yeah.
change totally
Yeah.
based on. They'll be pretty good though. I think there might be an interesting 4 mil defender to go for. The only issue you're going to have is if they're making a lot of defensive contributions, that they might be conceding a lot of goals. So you might just get your 2 points counteracted
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
regard.
And then we see a sea of green.
Here we go. Yes, these are three of the best. Three of the best teams. Not the
Yeah.
best, but three of
No,
the best.
but yeah, absolutely. And I've got a couple of these that are, definitely been tinkering with in my team. So from Palace, Everton, and Fulham there as well. And yeah, so interesting because like when you look at the fixtures, you've got to balance this out, right? Like you look at the fixtures and you sort of go, oh, do I really
Mm.
want to have a Gahey who could make way to Liverpool? Who knows? But when even some of the other players like Lacroix, I think I'm saying that right,
Yeah.
and Richards there, and this is where I'd be leaning a bit more towards Munoz just because of the attacking potential there, and still the
Yeah,
defensive contributions being relatively high as well.
I've got Munoz currently in my
Yeah.
draft. I've had Lacroix and I've had Richards at different points as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Lacroix for defensive actions, obviously the best, but he is that point. He's
Yeah.
5 mil, a little bit more expensive. Chris Richards is excellent value. I think he's one of, if not the best, 4.5 defender to go for because his actions are so good. His minutes are only 81 because Chalobah was at the club and kept him out the team. But since Chalobah left, he played every game. He's nailed. I wouldn't worry about his minutes at all. He's just directly a better version of Gahey.
Yeah.
I don't think he gets subbed off as well either. But yeah, so
Not as
Chris
much.
Richards,
Yeah.
yeah, Chris Richards is good. But yeah, Manoz, 8.8 per 90 is pretty high.
Pretty
You can
good.
see there. His
Yeah.
tackles are huge, 3.332 there per game. He's making an awful lot of tackles because he is just so heavily
Yeah.
involved on that channel. And he has the attacking upside. So yeah, the the only thing I'll say is even though it is 8.8 and that's really close to 10, the issue is that's the average. So if they're averaging above 10, that means more than 50% of the time they're hitting the threshold, which is really
Yeah.
good. Manoz, the issue you've got is he's probably getting a lot of nines and a lot of eight, which for this, it's really nice, but he doesn't get any points for it. So
Yeah.
he's actually going to get considerably less in terms of the defensive actions. But of course, he's still got that massive attacking
That's
upside.
it.
So it's he's really good.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it makes sense. 5.5 as well, I think he is priced at. So, yeah, just thinking about, like, I definitely wrote him down, but thinking about the price points there as well, I don't think. It's going to be really challenging depending on which premium picks we all go for in terms of when we think about our drafts. It's going to be really challenging to have more than two around that 5.5 and above defenders to have, especially if you're thinking Salah or a Haaland. I'm really not seeing as many drafts with Haaland in there. But even
Mm.
if you're doing a Salah Palmer and thinking about a 9 mil forward, it's going to be really difficult to have 2 6 million around that sort of price point defenders. So picking wisely is going to be pretty challenging. But I think if you can find a balance between defensive contributions and the attack. So now
Yeah.
I'm thinking Cucurella's probably not going to be that pick for me despite these slightly better, fixtures. But maybe just going in with a Munoz, would make a little bit of sense there. But jumping on to like Everton and Fulham really quickly as well. Really high numbers, from both teams. I'm actually not putting in any Everton defense in my
Mm.
drafts at the moment. Like I might reconsider. I'm not sure. They've definitely been better under Moyes. It's from defensive perspective in general. I think Pickford the best,
Yeah, I mean,
like some of the best stats.
I've currently got Pickford in my draft, but
Yeah.
that's purely because I had the money. I just had 5.5 for a keeper, so I thought I'd pick him. Yeah, I mean, you can see from the data there, Tarkowski absolutely the king of these defensive actions. 6.45 clearances. He just hoofs the ball away, and that's what we want. We just want players that hoof the ball away. They don't have a lot of possession. They hoof the ball away. That's all.
Yeah.
That's what we want. I believe he's injured currently, so that's a
Ah,
bit of a
okay.
bit of an issue. I did have him in a draft, but then I got told that he's currently, I don't think
Mm,
he's played at all in preseason. But yeah, they have priced them high, and I think
mm,
they needed to because if they were 5 million, they'd be in everyone's team.
yeah.
So putting them at 5.5 has it's I think they're a lot more for consideration than I've just realised there's a colour error on that. O'Brien should be yellow in terms of the minutes. I've only just noticed that.
Oh, yes.
It should be
That's
yellow.
right.
Sorry,
You're
it's
welcome.
just Tarkowski. Oh, what was I saying? I've lost my track of thought. Oh
That
yeah, the pricing.
the pricing.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, 5.5 is it's a lot, and it is the same price as a Manoz. And you kind
Mm,
of look at it, you go, well, that's silly. Surely I just go for Manoz with a massive attacking upside. Um, it, I, I'm more for it than I think others are in terms of paying 5.5 for a Tarkowski. Um, Mikolenko as well, I think, is irrelevant now because I think they've signed a left back, haven't they? Everton, they've signed
mm.
Asnu, I think he's called. Even if he's not a starter, Mikolenko's minutes are done
Minutes will
for. So
be, yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
um,
Branthwaite, I mean,
just a
that's
worse
not,
version of Tarkowski, unfortunately, and
but
he's the same
cheaper.
price.
Oh, is it same price?
The same
5.5?
price, yeah.
Oh,
Which
okay.
I don't know why, because he is just a worse version. So
Yeah. Oh, that's a shame. I
yeah,
was going to say, like, if he's a little bit cheaper, yeah, then
he's
maybe, yeah.
slightly more likely to get you a header from a corner,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Yeah. And then yeah, Fulham,
Fulham, yeah.
a name that has not really been talked about, but everyone loved last season. Robinson, really
Robinson.
good,
I had him last
really good.
season. For majority
Yeah,
of the
I mean,
season. He was great.
same. Yeah, I think apart from Salah, I think he was the player I owned the most in my
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
Really
I've
good.
drafted him.
Makes a
Yeah.
lot of tackles, makes a lot of clearances, and still has that massive assist threat that we saw last season. He's 5 mil, which is not it's not terrible. I mean, it obviously
No.
needed to be. I think he's worth considering. I feel like he's
I
certainly a
think so.
differential.
I think so. Like I was just going to go back here and just have a quick look at Fulham's, fixtures and Palace fixtures. But even, like
Right.
no, they're not the best, but you could start with one of them. Although, game week 4, you kind of want both, don't you then as well?
Yes.
With
Yeah.
Sunderland and Leeds, up there. But yeah, it's not the best fixtures, but yeah, I think it just comes down to when like again, thinking about it from a price point perspective, like when you bring these players in or when you sort of, transfer them in and out, or how you plan your transfers coming towards, AFCON sort of period as well and wildcards and things like that. So there's plenty of options to bring some of these players in, I guess. And it's just kind of working around some of this data or using this data to make those decisions. And so what I'll be doing is sort of writing down Munoz and Robinson as a way of sort of flicking between them. And if there's opportunity to have both of them in the team, then I'll probably take the opportunity to have both of them in the team. Yeah, these are honestly just really good tables, and I think like this is the probably the last I think the last interesting one that I wanted to kind of touch on a little bit more than probably the other ones that we've got, just because again, typically we'd be thinking about City defense and Liverpool defense, and I just see a lot of red and amber.
Yeah. Well, they're teams that have a lot of possession, so they're just teams that don't defend a lot. However, there is one player there who I have very much got on my radar, has been in every single draft of mine, which is Van Dijk.
Yep.
I am someone who has always considered Van Dijk. I've owned him for large parts of previous seasons. He's a very boring pick, people like to say, although when he scores a header, you're going absolutely nuts. Like, I don't think that's boring.
Absolutely.
But he's someone who I've considered plenty of times in previous seasons. Obviously, Trent has been the go-to guy
Yeah.
in the Liverpool. But when I saw Van Dijk has not only been made better from these defensive contributions because he's getting pretty close, he's hitting it quite a few times, but also he's cheaper. He's cheaper than he normally is. He's normally 6.5. He's been made 6 million.
Yeah.
So I've got him in my team. I've had him in every draft. I think he's the best premium. He's just absolute staple. You know he's going to be playing every game, playing
Mm.
90 minutes. He's never going to be subbed off, which is a huge deal, I think, for these defensive contributions. He's over 5 clearances a game as well. He
Yeah,
doesn't
that's
need to be
brilliant.
doing much
Mm.
else to get it.
Yeah,
I really like Van Dijk from that perspective.
yeah.
Um,
I think he's the
from
safest pick as well. I think I'm gonna have to put like Liverpool biases aside and just from a as a fan, not wanting to go for like a Kirkes or a Frimpong or obviously you want to go for these new signings that we've got. But at the same time, I'm sort of going, well, I really don't know how that's going to look because Bradley's looking really good, on the left. And yes, he's going to, like, they're both going to be sharing minutes there. But I think, like you've got in here from a minutes point of view, Frimpong probably will be the preferred choice there. But if you're looking at it purely from an attacking perspective, and this is where, again, you've got to look at it from a fixtures point of view and work out, the fixtures later on for Liverpool are definitely a little bit better. I think sort of after game week 11 or something like that. Not to say that they're not great at the moment. They're not the best, but they're not awful either. I mean, they're a really strong side at the moment, but there's a lot of changes as well. So I think Van Dijk is the only defender at the moment that I'm probably considering as well as a just a good pick to have and keep in the team as a 90
stable.
minutes player. Yeah, yeah. It's the same with like the City picks as well. I think Guardiol is where I'm leaning a little bit more. I know it
Mm.
feels like everyone's got eight Nori in their team at the moment, and I think that's just from the auto pick teams. I imagine eight Nori sort of landed in my draft from the auto pick that I did. But yeah, it just seems like he's popular pick there. But like you said earlier, if it's I mean, these teams hold a lot of the ball, from possession perspective. So we're not going to see as a sort of higher number. So here you're sort of going, yeah, attack is probably the lens that you're looking at it from. But I guess, Charlie, when you're doing your drafts, are you thinking like with this, the defensive contributions, and we'll touch on some of the midfielders briefly as well. Are you thinking maybe one or two? Because I think you mentioned one before, like from a defensive perspective. But out of your five defenders, would you be only picking one solid defensive contribution, 4.5 or 5 or whatever price point it may be? Or are you thinking, actually, I'm going to go two very attacking ones, sod the defensive contributions. They're going to get me assists, and I'm just going to pick one or two, high on the defensive contributions, and really capitalize on those 2 points week by week, that I'll potentially get. Where do you strike that balance?
I think in terms of the drafts I've made, I've not really ever had a particular number in my head of like I want this many attacking, this many defensive contributions.
Okay.
It's been more about the rotations. So I'm having Van Dijk playing every game, and then I'm having I'm then having a 4 million, whatever, just pop him on the bench, and then three defenders that I rotate play at least two every game every week. So in terms of the teams that I look for in terms of with the rotations, that's kind of where I'm looking at. So if I can fit in a defender at the price point that has the more defensive contributions, so I mean I could talk a little bit about the teams I've got. So I've got a Nottingham Forest defender in. I'd happily pay
Yeah.
more to get Murillo because he's so good for them.
Yeah.
I then have a Palace defender. I'm going for Manoz because his
Yeah.
attacking threat is so good. And then the third that has partnered them to make the rotation as good as it is Spurs, who is a bit is a bit dicey on that one. I mean, could you pull up Spurs defensive ones
Yeah.
because as you can see there, yeah, a doggy is pretty good
Yeah.
for them, makes a lot of tackles. Van
Yeah.
der Ven, not
4.5.
good at
Yeah.
all. And I think Romero is 5 million. So the issue of Romero, well, the issue of Van der Ven mainly is that he's really not a 90-minute man either. It's a bit worrying with the Spurs defenders because like the minutes there, it's below 80, so
Yeah.
it's a bit dicey with if they're going to play a full 90 or not. But I've currently
Yeah.
got a dog because he's just got that attacking threat
Yeah.
as well as pretty good.
Yeah. I agree.
So
Yeah, yeah, and the fixtures, like we discussed briefly as well. There's like some teams, the fixtures are just going to be slightly better. Like if you look at Spurs, yeah, look, the fixtures are looking good. Right up until
It's
game
it,
week
it's yeah.
10.
It's
8.
definitively really good fixtures as well. So like
Yeah,
definitely play him game week 1, easily bench him game week 2. And
yeah.
that's far much better than because I think finding a good run of games all the way through is really difficult.
It is really difficult. I completely agree. So what I did was I just pulled together from the FPL website, just because I didn't see many fixtures like this. Just kind of mapped out, and I wanted to have a 19 or 20 game week sort of view of it, and then kind of move this around based on which areas I want to sort of look at and which teams have good fixtures sort of coming up. So I was like playing around with it just for my own benefit
Is
before I sort
Liverpool
of
the
zoom in.
entire Liverpool highlighted?
What's that? Yeah,
The
of
entire Liverpool
course.
highlighted.
That's me being like, well, this is where I'm going. I'll probably have Salah in the team. So I guess I'm looking at it from the players that I want to keep in the team as well. And, some of and I've taken a few notes over here on the side as
Are you,
well.
are you
But
are you going to Fest? You able
no,
to go to Fest this season? No, you're not.
no, no, no.
Because Fest the first game is going to be Liverpool. It's going to be
Yeah,
Liverpool at home to Bournemouth.
yeah,
There is no way, like I said this before the game even launched, there is no way I'm not having Salah in my team.
yeah.
There's no way I can go to that event and be there as a Liverpool fan and not have him. So that's made my life a lot easier. Just going, right, I'm having
Yeah,
Salah, I'm not having Hart. There you
yeah.
go. I've just
I mean,
made that up in my mind.
all I've got here, like, I've got, okay, do I go, in my notes here, I'll just zoom into it so you can see that's the kind of thing that
Still
the
a test
post-it note
start, one
equivalent.
defender on wild
Yeah,
card. Interesting.
yeah, maybe, yeah. But these are just my, musings around, okay, this is what I'm thinking at the moment. But yeah, it's been,
Mm.
yeah, as you can see, I've sort of highlighted Liverpool all the way across the board because I don't think I'll not have at least one Liverpool player for probably the entire season in my team,
Yeah.
right? So Wirtz will probably stay in my team. I don't know for however long, maybe, maybe not. When we come to look at sort of the drafts and things like that, yeah, it'd be interesting what we sort of come up with when we do a quick live draft, maybe. But it's the same, like, with City, I'm sort of going, maybe I don't start with any City players. I probably won't because I just don't know. I haven't seen
Yeah.
much. And not to say that we should be putting as much weighting to or weight to the pre-season because we've not seen a lot from, many of these teams. But I think there's just some players where you kind of go, yeah, I really want to bring, a couple of them in. So where I've got City highlighted is sort of game week 13 onwards over here. So that will probably be post wildcard. If I
Mm.
do my wildcard in 12 at the moment is what I'm thinking. But 7 feels like a really good time as well. So yeah, I'm going to use this as my way of kind of working out, okay, where I'm thinking about players and then just zooming in a little bit more from just looking at it from a 5 game weeks per time as well and trying to
Mm.
roll some transfers if I can. But this is my casual way of playing, I guess.
Yeah, well, on the contrast, my doing a lot of research and threads and stuff like that. A great thing about doing predicted lineups every week is you get really used to which players and which teams are really good for minutes and which aren't. And I keep track of my accuracy every single week. I'm very upfront and honest about it. I post it every single week how
Yeah.
accurate the results were. I've just got my spreadsheet. I'm just looking at really funny. My worst week being game week 31 for Aston Villa. They rotated their entire team. I got
They
4 out of 11 that
Oh my
week.
gosh.
That was
Yeah.
a horrible one. I had to make a new because I highlight it in terms of how like the accuracy, like green for good, red for bad. I had to make a black one because it was
Yeah.
so bad. I was like, this is worse than this is worse than red. But the total accuracy, Man City was my worst, but with
Oh,
80% over the entire season, which means on average I'm getting at least 2 wrong every single week. And that's just exactly it. Like they're a team I haven't got any players. I don't think I've considered any players because I just can't tell you who's going to be in the lineup every week, and
No.
I can't be dealing with those teams. And there's that like
Yeah.
Man City, and the other one that's massive on that is Brighton, who are
Yeah.
also 80%. Just too much rotation.
There's too much. Yeah.
I can't be dealing with it.
Actually, that's a really good point and a good learning as well, and something I'll definitely sort of pay a bit more closer attention to is the minutes, and I think that's not something I did last season as much as I probably should have, and I mean, aside from it being a very much a random luck game as well, there were a couple of occasions where I just made poor 50-50 decisions, and maybe, looking at it from a minutes point of view and a couple of other perspectives as well, probably would have helped me to make a better decision. But like I don't regret any of the picks that I made. I had a good season overall, but there were some weeks where I was like, oh gosh, why didn't I even consider that this player may be a minutes risk? And yeah, I just didn't really think about it too much. And I think that's the thing. Like it's like when you leave your home, you sort of go wallet, phone, keys, all these things. When you're
Yeah.
picking your team, you got to go minutes, defensive contribution,
Oh
attacking
my gosh.
returns,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Put it like that.
shot map. Where's Charlie's shot map?
Oh, so much to think about. Yeah, I
So
don't
much
want to
to think
overbear
about.
people. Oh, yeah.
But I'm just going to jump to so please do go and check out for those that were tuned in. Obviously, we were looking at the defensive contribution one here. Charlie, you've done a midfield one as well. We won't sort of jump through some of these. I'll sort of let you guys go and check that out if you haven't sort of checked it out. What the hell have you been doing the last couple of seasons? Go check it out. Charlie does really, really good content on X. Do you post anywhere else?
No, so I did do YouTube for a bit. I kind
Yeah.
of stopped halfway through last season because it was just it's so I honestly I really full credit to any of the you YouTube creators because filming, editing, setting up, all of that stuff took like far too long for me to
Yeah.
fit into my lifestyle. So I stopped doing that.
It
No,
is hard.
Twitter is literally everything. I don't have an Instagram account. I don't have a TikTok. I don't have. I
Yeah.
just on X.
Just on X. That's brilliant. Look, it is really challenging. And I think this is why I decided to keep my content super low kind of maintenance as well. So, I use a planning board, I chuck everything on there and then just share, the screen. But also, it's very much my journey. So I don't have to, like, there's so many other really good content creators out there putting out, content week by week or, just 2 or 3 times in the week as well that share lots of great data and they talk about it, till the cows come home, like really in a lot of in-depth detail. That's not the type of content that I wanted to do. So I thought, you know what, let me just talk about my season, how it's going, my game week by game week, the players I'm thinking about, the content, I guess the data that I'm consuming to make my decisions as well, and keeping it super simple. And even when I've videoed content, I'm doing it in one take. I'm not even bothering with like editing and stuff like that. I'm just keeping it super simple and, just streamline the process because otherwise I just don't know like how everyone has time doing it. And so for those content creators, I know there's many of them over here in Australia and others that I tune into that just put so much energy and effort into it. And so, kudos to them to go the extra mile to do all of that. So we've talked enough, I think, about defenders, but I just wanted to kind of put this table up as well. So from analyst Nick 11 on X, who has been pulling together more recently, tables like these. There's lots of, again, there's lots of data and charts, available on X as well. But I found this one interesting because he's also included the defensive contributions into this particular table. And so you can see there, Lacroix, right there at the top, based on the next sort of 8 game weeks, including, defensive contribution per game week is what we were kind of working out. So I'm not sure,
Yes.
I'm not 100% sure about it, but yeah, it's do check out his content as well on X. I think he's only posting it out, but it kind of gives you a sense of from expected points point of view. where some of these players are sort of ending up. But although I think when Charlie and I were looking at this as well, like especially the midfielder stats, we were sort of looking at James there and thinking, really, is it really that high? But just again, it doesn't sort of factor in, at least not on this table, what the minutes look like for each of these players as well. So that's just something to consider. But yeah, I mean, it's really useful to see, like from a premiums, you can see right up here. I mean, as expected, Salah's there at the top from a midfielder's point of view, and Palmer, Saka. But if we keep, I guess, draft and structure of players in mind, Palmer and Saka, this is where I feel like, I would be leaning towards a Saka in my team, and I have done in the past as well, like provided the fixtures are looking good, for Arsenal. But Saka may not be on pens, and so all of a sudden 10 million, no pens. I'm not sure, about sort of bringing him in, and does that sort of reduce his output, or expected points over here as well? So there's so much we're learning still, in pre-season.
Yeah, there's I mean, yeah, the table's so interesting with showing the points. It is interesting how Palmer is that 0.5 million, but you can see the expectation is that he will just be that slight bit better. I think the reason people are considering Saka is if you see in terms of the predicted points game week by game week, when we think about captaincy, I think
Yeah.
Saka works slightly better when it comes to captaincy. So like you can see game week 2, slightly he's got a really good game. Game week 7 has a really good game. So like for those distinct captain options, I think he works better. The thing is, though, I think in terms of just overall points, even if I don't want to sound boring, but if you were to just captain Salah every week, I
Yeah.
think it could potentially just work out better. But yeah, it's nice to factor in the defensive contribution points as well. I think so. Yeah, so we worked out that so using Anderson as an example, that 1.34, that means that because the maximum you can get is two for a
Yeah.
single game,
Yeah.
that means that his likelihood is 1.34 on average, which is about a 65
Yeah.
percent chance of getting defensive contributions. So it's nice to see that factored in terms of how good these players are. And I mean, it just makes Anderson look so good as a pick, doesn't
It
it? With like he's up there
it
with the
does.
expensive players at
Yeah.
5.5. He's in my current team.
He's in my
He,
team at the moment as well. Yeah, like the light touch drafting that I've been. Actually, let me put my defenders up on here. The drafts that I've been coming up with. Yeah, for 5.5, Anderson just feels like a good player to have in the team. But yeah, I mean, I think I've started seeing Bruno Fernandes or Fernandes turning up on a lot of teams as well, and yeah, I can see why, because like his defensive contributions are from the premiums anyway, a little bit on the higher side there, and I
yeah,
guess will
expensive.
still be on pens as well.
Yeah, can you if you go on my midfielder post that
Yeah,
I made, the thread, I did at the end. If you scroll to the end, I made one about the attacking players that also had good defense contributions. I think Bruno was quite high. If you go to the bottom,
yeah,
sorry,
the
if you go
bottom. Yeah, I remember seeing this
uh,
one. This one.
the
Uh,
next one, that one, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So Bruno, 11.7 pretty much. He's getting. Which is huge. It is
Yeah.
huge. And I mean, stacked on top of him as well, if he can get an extra 2 points every other game, which it nearly is, I can see why he's been priced so high. He's absolutely, for me, a wait and see, because United's fixtures aren't very good, and we just don't know what's going to happen with that team at all. I've spoken to plenty of Man United fans because A, there's a lot of them, and B, they are the team who
It's too
I'm the
many.
most unsure about. And I've heard all kinds of different things. I've
Yeah.
heard I've heard some outlandish lineups. I've heard Cunha playing up top. I've heard Bruno Fernandes left hung to dry in midfield. I've heard all kinds of different things. I've heard back fours as well. They could play back four.
Yeah.
But the issue I have is that he's at such an awkward price point at 9 million. There
Yeah.
is no one else, I think, in the midfielders that's his
No.
price. So
No.
getting to him is going to be really awkward because you're not going to want to sell a Palmer or a Saka. So that means you've got to upgrade like an Eze or a
Yeah.
Rodgers, which means you've got to find 2 million from somewhere. So it's a really difficult player with his price.
Yeah, it is difficult, but when you look at it from this lens, you sort of go, I know, like I think from a
I mean,
fixtures
look at
point of view,
Eze. Eze's the same
yeah,
points pretty
yeah,
much
agree, yeah, yeah,
for cheaper. Yeah.
yeah, and this is where, yeah, you're absolutely right because when I know, like, when you look at, I'm seeing a lot of drafts with both Salah and Wirtz in there as
Mm.
well, and it's only zero point 0.5 more. I'm not trying to sell Bruno, least likely person to be selling Bruno here, but yeah, it's just interesting to see, like, if you're finding a zero point 0.5 going up from someone like a Wirtz, for example, that's not so bad. But you're right. When you look at it in context of like Eze or even Saar, 6.5 for Saar, although, on that 50-50 pick last season, I went with Saar and I
Mm.
wish I hadn't. I
Yeah.
wish I'd gone with Eze in the end. But yeah, it is a tough one. And I think this is where, like, when we, if we look at, actually, while you touched on Captaincy Matrix, let's just have a very quick look at, as we sort of consider that and why we may want to
Yeah.
consider some of these, premium picks in there as well. So, game week 1, I mean, this has got it up to game week 8 at the moment. And look, topping most of them. So you've got Salah up there for game week 1, and then you've got Haaland. I think game week 2 is probably the most interesting because from a fixtures point of view, Salah drops down to about 6 points roughly for game week 2, and Haaland up there with 7.4 ish.
Yeah, I'm shocked by Palmer on that for game week
Yeah,
2. I mean,
yeah,
this is clearly, I mean, Salah's points home at Arsenal was massive, so this is clearly very weighted towards home.
yeah.
If you're playing at home, it's a lot higher. I mean, like, yeah, Haaland away at Wolves being lower than Palmer home to Palace. Again, not 100% sure about that, but I mean, that's kind of why I'm happy with a draft having Salah and Palmer because I'm quite happy captaining Palmer in game week
Yeah.
2, even though on this it actually says that expectations Salah's better. I'm quite happy captaining Palmer in game week 2.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even if you look at, so if you look at this one here, season long sort of, predictions as well. I mean, yes, it's season long, but it kind of gives you a bit of context to the players and, what's going on there. So
Yeah, this is
actually, I won't look at this one.
Rob T stuff is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I'm bewildered by how little followers he has on X.
Yes.
Please
Yeah.
go check out Rob T. He's
And he's just
absolutely
teamed up with
essential.
Solio as well, and they're doing some great stuff over there at Solio. I know Prass is part of that as well, and I think more recently Rob T joined them as well. So yeah, really really good stuff that Rob T puts out. I look forward to his data. I think there'll be, like I say, a couple that I'll be tuning into on a regular basis. So Rob T is definitely one of them, and then yourself, Charlie, and a couple of others as well as we sort of progress through the season. But yeah, it's just really interesting, like, to see. But when you look at it from a price point again perspective, like, I don't know if it's worth sort of talking about Isak just yet because we just don't know it looks like he's making a move to Liverpool. But 10.5, not on pens anymore. But Liverpool number 9. I don't know, like, it's going to be interesting. I don't think I would be going there, but it's a shame that Isak no longer becomes really a good option to have up front if he
Mm.
if he moves away from Newcastle. But when you look at sort of captaincy again, yeah, it's really between Salah, Palmer, and if you're going Haaland. Have you done any drafts with Haaland? Is he of interest?
No, because I'm so settled on having Salah that putting in Haaland, just looking at terms of like structure for a team, it just makes it far too bare bones everywhere else. I'm far
Yeah,
happier getting
yeah.
a cheaper premium.
Yeah, agree. And I guess when you look at it, from this lens as well, whilst like the data here will change, I imagine as we get closer to the deadline as well. Haaland's topping between now and between game week 1 and 8, he's only topping the tables over here 3 times. Am I looking at that right? Yeah, about 3 times. It's not that much really between game week 1 and 8 at the moment, and even then, it's not that like far off. So if you look at game week 4, Salah and Haaland, really not much difference there. But same with Saka as
Mm.
well. Not really. We're talking about
Oh,
minor differences here.
this is actually really useful because I've been thinking about because with all the chips because we're not really touched about it, but in terms of all the new chips, free hit I think is probably one of the most interesting ones in terms of when to play it. Of
Yeah.
all the players I'm considering, game week 7 looks like a really good time to free hit because
Oh
I probably
yes.
won't have Saka, I won't have Haaland, I won't have Bruno. I'll have Salah and Palmer who are down there. Yeah, I probably will have Watkins by looking at that. Again, I'm surprised he's very low down. He's got Burnley at home.
Yeah, I know.
But that will be, I mean, yeah, I might end up like tripling up on United players by that point. Yeah, game week 7 could be a very strong free hit week for the
I
players I'm considering.
Yeah, and just on Watkins, so Watkins is not on pens, right? It's still Tielemans probably on pens there. Is that right?
We're sort of waiting to see on that because it is so difficult because the number one penalty taker was Asensio, he's
Yeah,
left. The number two penalty taker was Rashford, he's left.
yeah.
Tielemans has taken them and missed. Watkins has taken them and missed. Watkins has missed more than Tielemans. The honest answer is we don't know.
We don't
We
know.
really don't know. I would assume it's Tielemans, personally, just because Watkins never looked confident on
No.
penalties. Tielemans is pretty good. He just missed one recently.
Yeah,
I would assume it's Tielemans, but there are teams like that who we can't be
we just
sure.
don't
We can't
know.
be sure
Yeah,
until a penalty happens. We can't be sure.
yeah. Definitely hit a nerve there because I had Asensio in my team when he missed 2 penalties. I won't talk too much about that, but this is the height of like
Devastating.
how bad my luck just switched over last season, where I had him in my team, and I'm like, amazing, he's got a
Welcome to it.
pen. Oh, okay, he's got an opportunity to redeem himself with the second pen. Nope, does exactly the
No.
same thing.
Oh, he's got an assist though. Yay.
Yay!
Something. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm surprised.
crazy.
Like, given he missed 2 pens, I'm surprised it didn't go into the minuses there. But yeah, I walked away with a few points there. Yeah, painful, very very painful. So yeah, I think like from a captaincy point of view, like again, like a couple of things that I didn't pay close attention to last season, things like minutes as much as I probably should have, and captaincy picks as well. So I think when I'm looking at my draft, especially, I'm going to be thinking about captaincy a little bit more. I feel like I got the captaincy calls sort of 60%. I think I was looking at the FPL sort of tools, the Premier League tools
Oh, yeah,
site,
it's a great.
and the captaincy as well. And I think I was like 60 to 70%, something like that, which is, you could argue, quite high, but I've had it higher, than that previously. So yeah, I definitely want to pay closer attention to it this time round. But look, I just want to give a big shout out to everyone that's tuned in. We have been going for about almost hour and a half. Charlie, I really do appreciate your time, and we'll jump onto, I think we'll just
Time
jump
absolutely
straight
flies.
to the drafts. So I know it's late over there in the UK. I've not got any meetings scheduled until much later this morning over here in Sydney. And thank you to everyone that's been tuning in as well. And please do hit like and subscribe. So I wasn't super consistent with content last season. Unfortunately, I had to be in the UK because my father was quite ill and then passed away. So I missed out on a lot of, FPL time, but also content time. Family comes first, but look, it's great to be back this season, and it's nice to be doing some pre-season content as well. And yeah, look, I'm hoping to be a bit more regular with just putting out a couple of streams here and there and doing some video content to share my FPL journey, and hopefully I can beat last season, which was about 26k for me. So hopefully I can beat last season. So if that's the kind of content that you enjoy, conversational, guests on occasionally, bit rambly, thought process, yeah, please do like and subscribe, and hopefully I can see you in the chat on a regular basis, and you can give me some advice as well. I hope anyway.
Yes, that's good because we both got because I was 28k, so we both got a
Yeah,
very similar. My goal is just to beat last year.
yeah,
So Yeah,
Yeah,
but
that's the
we've both
plan.
different journeys, but we've got the same. We're going for the same endpoint.
Yeah, love it, love it. So let's jump on to just really quickly. We'll talk about team
Yeah,
structure, and I've got FPL team open as well, where we can whip up a quick draft as well. But now that we've sort of looked at a bunch of players, I know we haven't really looked at the forwards as much, but I think they're kind of. I think bar the maybe the 5.5 or even like a 6.5 I'll just put that in there like a 6.5 forward there as well. It's
so
there's not many.
yeah, so I'm interested in this. So first off, you're quite set on a 3-4-3
Not
formation?
necessarily. Not necessarily. So I was looking at,
Mm.
so I've got 3-4-3 up here, but, I was looking at other formations as well. So I've got, these two up
Yeah.
here.
So these are the two that I think I'll alternate between
Yeah.
because so I don't think I've made a single draft that's had three forwards like that I've looked at three forwards.
I don't think I will be
Um,
either. Yeah.
just because I think the value of the cheap midfielders is so much higher than the cheap forwards, especially with these defensive contributions now. It's even greater. So
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of value in just having a 4.5 forward, sit in them, disregard them, whatever,
Yeah.
and just put your money in the seven,
Yeah.
and have that cheap midfielder as well.
Yeah. Are you going to go for a 4 mil goalkeeper as well? Like, will
Uh,
one of your goalkeepers be?
Probably. I'm working on that because defend the if you want to rotate goalkeepers, ideally you want two 4.5s. We've not really got many 4.5 options this season.
No.
And the rotations, I mean, so the best I found was Petrovic for Bournemouth and Areola for West Ham was a really good rotation.
Yeah.
Um, the issue is I don't know how good the West Ham defense is, and also my biggest issue that I found. So using these FPL tools, every single season I found, it shows you at the end of the season your team of the season, how many points they got for your team.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had a goalkeeper. Sorry, I don't think I've ever had a goalkeeper get more than 40 points for my team
Yeah.
because I just change it far too much. So this season, I'm kind of tempted just to pick a keeper who I like and just stick with them no matter what. Just stick with them,
You
even if they
mentioned
have a tough
Pickford,
run of
right?
fixture. Pickford was my, yeah. If he came in at 5 mil, he would have been my guy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he's not only 5.5, but also I think everyone would have had him if he was 5 million.
Yeah,
But yeah, I've currently
definitely.
got Pickford because I can afford him. I can afford him, and yeah, he's been the top scoring goalkeeper for 2 seasons in a row. I don't
Yeah.
see why he can't make it a third. I know he's the same as Raya, who you'd think at that
Yeah.
price would be better. But yeah, I think Pickford is just a really stable. It's just a really stable option. That Everton defense is always really good.
Yeah.
And the good thing about picking the most expensive keeper is you can swap to anyone at any time if you want.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
it's a
Yeah.
useful place to be. Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned a couple of other picks along the way as well. So we'll just kind of put a few of them in.
Yeah.
Oops,
So
wrong
Minars, yeah,
spelling.
Van Dijk in the defense, Murillo was the one I've had a lot of drafts, and currently it's a doggy just to finish
Yeah.
off the rotation.
Yeah. Let's just kind of put that in there. Oh, doggy. Yeah. Almost. And are you thinking like a 4 mil or another 4.5 for on the
Yeah,
bench?
I've had a couple drafts with 4.5. Again, if
Yeah.
I can create a rotation with four defenders that I play two every time,
Yeah.
I'll happily do that. I've had Anderson a couple drafts, but currently it's I believe it's pronounced Esteve
Oh,
from
yeah.
Burnley. I think people saying
Es,
Esteve,
it's
but I think it's
Esteve.
Esteve.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
Esteve.
Esteve. Yeah.
He's just absolutely nailed on for Burnley. Going to play all the time, centre back. And yeah, he's completely. I don't really like the other ones that might not be
Yeah.
nailed. I'm keeping my eye on Wolves though because
Yeah. Like
they've got
who's
a couple wing backs who are four
yeah.
million and they haven't signed anyone, so that could be something.
Yeah. I haven't hit up or haven't looked at Black Wolves tweets yet to see like who he's talking about at the moment. But yeah, definitely the Wolves go-to guy for me anyway. to
Blackwolf, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
yeah
I have a couple guys to go to for certain teams. So for
yeah
Wolves, Black, for Brighton, FPL Instinctive is
yeah
perfect. For Brentford Hive
yeah they're
does
great.
stuff
Yeah
for that. Like
yeah
I think those are the Villa, FPL Villain.
Villain. Yeah
Yeah,
yeah. So Salah obviously is sitting
yeah.
in
Salah's been
your
on the
team
team.
at the moment, and you mentioned Palmer as well. Yeah,
Palmer, yeah. I just think honestly that Club World Cup final performance, it's very knee jerky, but oh
yeah.
my God. I just saw
I
that and
think
thought,
I think earlier
yeah.
I mentioned, just being on the fence about Chelsea picks in general, and I think that's because of, the lack of kind of break that Chelsea have had, but also just thinking
Mm,
back to Palmer's performance last season, which felt like he just dropped off after a stellar performance, the season prior. So
yeah,
I
it
really
was,
don't
yeah.
know what's going on and what Maresca might do. Like his approach to Premier League might be different to what his approach to the Club World Cup has been as well. So I'm really not sure what to expect. And so I'm a
Mm,
little bit tentative about Palmer, whilst he's definitely on the, like in a couple of drafts that I've been doing, but I've also been quite tentative about him as well and thinking, do I go for a João Pedro? And then, I had Peterson from the FPL SideNet podcast over here, a content creator who does, brilliant podcasts in Australia. And he's a Chelsea supporter, and he's like really high up on, João Pedro probably being, the player that everything's going to go through. And I guess that's what it looks like at the moment anyway. They've obviously got Liam Delap there as well, and Jackson sort of still on their roster. So it's going to be interesting where Jackson probably ends up. I'm expecting maybe a transfer for him. But between João Pedro and Palmer, I don't want to have the conversation too much around can this player cover the other player, because we've already been there, right? And Cuckoo, can Cuckoo cover
have you seen
Palmer?
my tweet? Have you seen my tweet I made about cover an FPL? Because I shared my
No,
two
do
cents on it.
tell.
I think it's a myth. I don't think cover exists. I understood it. I understand it in terms of defenders. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe less so with clean like DefCon points now, but because every defender gets a clean sheet, I understand. Can you cover this defense? For attackers, I think it makes no sense. I think it makes no sense because if you're looking at João Pedro and Palmer as two attackers for Chelsea, are you really looking at Chelsea and going, right, I think they're going to score 3 goals in this game. I hope that if Palmer gets one, I hope João Pedro gets one. Does anyone really look at it like that? Or do they look at, hang on, who's the guy who's most important
Yeah.
for this team, who's the one getting the goals? And I think we need to look at assets as individual players, how good they are, and not can they cover someone from the same team? Because I
Yeah.
mean, for João Pedro and Palmer, not only is there a 3 mil price difference, but they're not even the same position.
No.
So when you're looking at your team, it's not a decision between
No.
Palmer and João Pedro.
No.
It's a decision between Palmer and a cheaper
Yeah.
forward versus João Pedro and a cheaper midfielder.
Definitely. And you just reminded me about probably another thing that I wish I'd paid a bit more attention to last season, which is, combos, like combination
Yeah.
players. And I think it's worthwhile sort of thinking, yeah, maybe it's Palmer and João Pedro rather than just hoping that João Pedro cover Palmer. And you're right, like from a position point of view. But I think we all just generally seem to go there, though, right? You want to have a good
Yeah.
spread, especially at the start of the season. And this whole
Yeah.
conversation is centered around, that Gameweek 1 drafting and just the strategy that, we might want to try and align to or adopt. And it's really difficult when you're thinking about, let me just spread the players around. And so already, like, we know that we've got, VVD in this particular draft right now and Salah. And so combinations is something, is worth sort of considering as well. But yeah, I guess it gets trickier because, again, the mind goes to, let me just spread the players out from all of the teams that have good fixtures coming up.
Yes. Yeah. Eggs in baskets. Fred, I do not game weekly because that'd be overkill, but I do it every so often, probably like 3 times, 4 times a season, is a talisman Fred. So identifying who is that main talisman from every team. So what I like to do usually is pick that talisman from as many teams as I possibly can.
Yeah.
I don't usually double up on attacks. I do currently have a double up on an attack because I think it might be the only one I'm happy about.
Yeah.
Which you obviously get onto with the players. But yeah, I do like to spread around. I like to pick the main guy from a team
Yeah.
rather
Yeah.
than loading up on loads of attackers from a team just because they have good
So
fixtures.
my post-it note now says minutes, defensive contributions, combos, and talisman.
I hope you look at this. I hope we get to the deadline and you look at this poster now and you're like, what? What's all
What?
this mean? What? Oh my God, what am I doing?
I definitely won't be on the FPL website for it because, yeah, I'll probably have to log in like a million times as well. So I better not do that on the
Oh my
website.
gosh, yeah, it keeps logging you out. Oh, I hate that.
It's such a pain, such a pain. So midfield, who else are you kind of eyeing up?
So
So,
I've got Rodgers currently in my
yeah,
team. I did have Eze, but I've taken him out just because the fixtures for Palace are
yeah,
really bad to start the
yeah, fair.
season.
Yeah.
So I've got Rodgers. I just think at the price point, I've that point is a 7 million midfielder. He's just my favorite because I've got to look at it as an individual. I think the fixtures are the best offensively for Villa. I think they're great.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was really sold on it because like pre-season, he's still scoring, he's still assisting, so good for minutes.
He's really good, and I think 7 million's good. It's a good price, you know. Whilst I'd love for it to be obviously lower, we all would, but I think seven million's fair for him.
Yeah, and then the fourth midfielder is contentious. I've got Njai from Everton,
Ah,
who
okay.
is an interesting one because I think he is that main guy for Everton. He's probably on penalties now. I think we saw he was taking penalties at the end of last season.
Yeah.
The issue is Everton's attack has been appalling. If we look at the data for it, they, apart from the relegated sides, they were the worst in terms of attacking data. So I'm hoping that Everton are just much better
Yeah.
offensively. The thing is, for 6.5, I think there are picks that I like more, but they're not really the talisman. They're not
No.
really the main guy for their team. So
Yeah.
I have
I'm
a bit
seeing a
of
lot of
difficulty with that.
kudos. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of kudos on, like teams.
Yeah, I like Johnson's there. Johnson's there
Yeah.
on the right wing. I just don't see Kudus playing all the time. Whereas in
No.
Jai, he's really malleable. He can play in the center, he can play on the left, he can play on the right. Like I don't have any worry about him not playing. He can play up top as well. I don't really
Yeah.
worry about him not playing because he has just got so much. He can play in so many different positions.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind that as a pick, actually. It's, I think when I was thinking about a forward pick and of course I had bench boost in mind as well. And I know like on Twitter we had a question from FPL Crisis asking about yeah, I think let me just kind of go to his question. So he said, talk to me about Bench Boost One, and we'll definitely sort of come to that conversation a bit, like around chips and if we can cover some of that because I'm kind of considering Bench Boost game week 1, and
Yeah,
treating.
should we knock out the rest of the players and then go into
Yeah,
that?
we'll jump over there, and we're definitely covering his question around best structures and start of the season, all of that, and defenders, a couple of defenders and mids that you'd think that would smash their price this season. So something to kind of like bear in mind as we're going through. But yeah, let's go through the forwards, and then I guess like this fourth
Oh yeah, so
spot,
so
fifth
that
spot,
fifth midfielder, yeah, because that's
Anderson.
I think yes, yeah, quite crucial to the strategy. It was Christie. I really am a big fan of Ryan Christie because his defensive action data was through the roof.
Yeah, very high. Yeah.
The only issue, and he's 5 million. The only issue is he had a groin injury at the end of the season, and he's still not over it.
Okay.
And the key thing about these defensive actions for these cheap midfielders, they have to play 90 minutes because if they don't, they're probably not hitting the threshold as much as you'd like.
Yeah.
So they have to. My current favourites are Anderson and Belieber. from
Oh
Brighton
yeah, yeah, yeah,
for,
yeah.
for 5 million. But yeah, Anderson is the one that's currently in because I've got 5.5. I
Yeah.
can afford it. But yeah, he puts up really solid defensive action data and has a little bit of attacking threat as well. But he's kind of crucial to this whole plan because those three defenders there, Manoz, Murillo, Udogie, I will play them when they have a good fixture. If one of them doesn't have a good fixture, Anderson's playing. So I've currently got Manoz on the bench, which I'm not
Okay.
I grimace at because obviously I remember from last season, plenty of people bench Manoz in tricky fixtures and he ended up scoring.
Yeah.
Um, I'm currently playing Anderson.
Okay.
But yeah,
Fair.
I think just he encompasses like everything in terms of the defensive action, slight attacking output. He's on set pieces now as well because Alanga was on a few
Ah, of
and
course.
Anderson was
Yeah.
the understudy for that. So yeah, I just
Okay.
think he's solid.
Yeah. No, fair. No, that's good. So forwards. Where are
Forwards, yeah.
you?
So I've got Watkins as my first forward. So I have doubled up on the Villa attack. I think their
Yeah.
fixtures are good enough that it's okay. And yeah, I mean, for the preseason game, it's literally just Rodgers and Watkins scoring all the goals. So
Yes.
I'm happy to go with it. I'm happy to back that Villa, offensively at least, will be really good. A lot of home fixtures. And the main thing that's now really selling me on going for Watkins is the addition of Gyökeres into the game.
Oof.
And he's 9
Yes.
million.
9 million.
The fixtures are really tough for Arsenal to start off with. The fixtures are really good for Villa. He gives me an excellent position to just swap to Gyökeres whenever he embeds in the team. I don't want to go in for right away because he might not play every game. That
Yeah.
he might just take a while to embed. I'm assuming he will, but he might not. It just gives me a really easy position. I think with team structure, it's so important to have price points and flexibility so
That's
you can
yeah.
really easily switch between these players. So having Watkins means if Gyökeres suddenly goes off, it's fine. I can just swap to him. It's really
Yeah.
easy to do it.
It's so interesting. Yeah, just hearing you say that because I'll bring this up here. As we're sort of looking at these two. Actually, I'll put it on this side just so it's easier to have on the screen and just do that. Obviously, this is the formation is different here, but we can just look at it from like a pricing point of view. Is that on the screen? Yeah, it's on the screen. So Watkins, obviously 9 million there. And then we were saying, that this player here would probably end up being sort of, 4.5
Yeah, I guess that
roughly.
makes you 100, right? That makes you 100 because it was
That,
what it was
yeah.
101.
Yeah, exactly. And that's pretty much, yeah, the I guess like we've got a bit more money here because I, had like a Wirtz in mind kind of thing for the 8.5 roughly, but it doesn't have to be, right? But then that lets you
My
go
my
a
my
little bit
first
higher
draft
to a Bruno, lower
My
as
first
well.
draft did have Verts in it because I saw 8.5 and thought, what? That feels low. He might really like. There's a high likelihood he's in my team if I just shift things around a bit. But currently, I've spent because, like I said, I can take a little bit out of Pickford, a little bit out of one of the defenders. Maybe I downgrade Anderson to Belieber, and then I've probably got the money to go up from
Yeah.
probably Njai to what Verts. I probably wouldn't do it for Rogers, but and well,
Yeah.
actually, then I'm doubling up on two attacks, and maybe that's not ideal.
Well, yeah, so I think this is where, like, just going back to your point about, price points, this is where I like to kind of, structure a little bit because it just gives me the flexibility to take players out and just transfer in and out from a rotation point of view. So I'll probably try and work out what my rotations are as well for some of these picks. So, for example, Munoz might be a rotation, more likely. Murillo could be a rotation as well. If I go with like a Udogi or another 4.5, I know we've been seeing lots of Wan-Bissakas and we talked about Konsa and Cash and, some of the Villa defence, earlier as well. But there are a couple of good options out there from a 4.5, even the 4 mil. I think the 4 million one will probably just stay in the team for however long until you wildcard again or something like that. but
Yeah.
your rotation ones are the ones that I'm going to work out where I can go up by point 0.5 or down by point 0.5, or a million here and there, and still be okay with the team going into 2 or 3 game weeks, or at least from the way I plan anyway. But like VVD would probably, if I go VVD or that 6 million player, I'd probably stick there for a really long time. Probably till when I wildcard and maybe rotate out for another 6 million player, maybe. But yeah, when you think about Munoz, I mean, Munoz is 5.5, Murillo is 5.5 as well. So you're a little bit
A lot in
like
defense.
heavier in the defense. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I think I'm just paying the little bit extra for the defensive actions because, and I've basically done that by downgrading a Verts to a Rogers by just
Yeah.
having that point 0.5 extra because I think it's going to be worth it. I don't know, and that's what's exciting. A lot of people would be like, why don't you just get Nico Williams for point 0.5 less? You can get Chris Richards for the Palace team. You can just downgrade it. You can get Kanate if you want for instead of Van
Yeah.
Dijk, and just save all this money. I'm hoping that just by downgrading one attacker and just putting all that money spread around in the defense, it just makes it it just gives me a bit more upside.
Yeah.
And this is built for, I think, like you said, Van Dijk sitting in the team. It's built to not really make transfers. It's
Yeah.
built to sit on these players, build up the free transfers. Uh, Obviously, maybe go aggressive when we get the 5 transfers come in near AFCON, giving me the price points to be flexible and yeah, just having these players for a while, hopefully getting
Yeah.
defensive contributions along the way, and just gradually picking up more points here and there.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so, who's your last forward pick?
So I wanted a 7.5 forward because I think there's
Yeah.
there's 5 really good options there.
Yeah, there
It's
is.
currently
Yeah.
Solanke.
Okay.
I'm not 100% on it. I just need to see more from it pre-season. I think the on paper Solanke sounds great because Frank's come in. His system we all know really
Yeah.
just feeds the striker
Wissa was brilliant.
constantly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Vista,
Yeah.
Tony, Bumo, whenever he played up top,
Yeah.
they've always done really well. We all think Solanke will be the next one. He's got Burnley at home game week 1. The other good thing is that currently there isn't really another striker. I know there's Richarlison, but he's very clearly second choice.
Yeah.
Whilst all the other attackers in Spurs are seemingly rotating, whereas Solanke seems like quite a constant, which is
Consistent. Yeah.
really nice to
Yeah.
pay for.
Yeah.
I just need to have that confidence in me. It's
Yeah.
more of a uh, I don't want to be wrong kind of pick. So
Yeah.
I don't
Fair.
have full confidence on it. I really like Chris Wood in that position
Yeah.
because the fixtures are good for Forest. It
Yeah.
does give me a triple up though on Forest, so I'm not 100% on it. But yeah, it's Solanke currently.
Any others that sort of came to mind as you were
Like
looking?
no, not really, and
I'm
that's why
seeing.
I've
Why am I seeing
so
João Pedro everywhere?
So João Pedro for me, I think he's everywhere. Like he's the highest owned player in the game. I think it's because the game released so soon after the Club World Cup. We all saw him score 3 goals in two
True.
games,
Yeah.
and we're like, wow,
Recency
he's
bias.
absolutely
Yeah.
electric. The reason I'm not going to go there is because you've got Delap and you've got Jackson. There is no way João Pedro is ever playing more than 70 minutes. You've got two extremely hungry, talented strikers there sat on the bench. They're not gonna sit and watch him play 90 minutes and just never be used. He's
Yeah.
always gonna come off around that 60, 70 minute mark. And yes, he could absolutely just score points in 60, 70 minutes. He could be another Aguero who used to always score super quickly.
Yeah.
But over a whole season, that he's gradually playing so many less minutes that I think someone like Solanke just eventually will catch up because he's just
Yeah.
playing that extra time every game.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair.
But just in terms of other forwards, I do like Bowen. I
Yeah.
do like Bowen,
Why is he a
even though
forward?
I think it's because. they're assuming West Ham are going to revert back to this. So they played a 3-5-2 in
Mm,
a lot in most of the end of the season with either full Krug and Bowen up top or Kudus and
yeah,
and Bowen. They're going to assume they revert to that and not it's definitely going to be a back five for
yeah.
sure because West Ham have signed two wing backs
Wing backs, yeah, yeah.
in the transfer window. It's absolutely going to be a back five. Yeah, I think they just assume that Bowen's going to be one of the strikers. But if you look at heat maps, he's exactly the same as Salah. It's exactly the
Yeah.
same. So it's
But also
yeah,
from a price point, like it just makes it harder to fit in a Watkins and a Bowen, right? I mean, it's an extra
yeah, that
million that you're
point.
looking for.
I mean, the thing with Bowen is we're having exactly the same conversations that we had last season, and that was because Bowen was just slightly more expensive than Bumo was the one everyone was
Yeah,
looking at.
true. Yeah.
The those other midfielders, again, I can't remember from last season.
Eze as well. Eze was like
Yeah,
slightly
Eze was
cheaper.
another team. He was just slightly more. So it was awkward to fit him in when it's like, well, I could just pay a little bit less for this player. And
Yeah.
it's exactly the same again. He's just slightly more. I think I think the him being reclassified as forward has been massively overblown in terms of him as an asset. Because if you look at his points of what he would have got, yes, he's getting one less point for goals and clean sheets. So he's
Sure.
losing about 30-ish.
Yeah.
He's also gaining a fair few in bonus.
True.
So
Yeah.
he's not like he has all he's never really been that good for bonus, but that extra six BBS for a goal, it will add up. So I think he's definitely
I think
worse
it
as an
balances
asset.
out. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
he's definitely but yeah, I think it's only slightly worse though.
Yeah.
So Bowen, I have considered. Vissa is one of those ones which is just there's so much noise about where he's going to be. I'm kind of a bit worried about that.
Yeah. I
Mateta,
think
the other 7.5. Oh, sorry, yeah, Vissa.
yeah, I was going to say Wissa and just Brentford, just not knowing how Brentford are going to shape up as well. Just a couple of unknowns there. I don't know if
I
that's because I've just not researched it as much at the moment.
I don't even know who their manager is. I
Yeah,
don't
there you
actually
go.
know. Keith Andrews. Keith Andrews. I don't know
Yeah,
who he is. So yeah, I'd have to wait and see
yeah, but I
Brentford.
imagine Wissa's appeal would be as a talisman and sort of like, I think Sade will be up there as well. But I think they're going to be different, like in how they play. I mean, they don't have their previous talisman, Mbumo there anymore. But I think Wissa's a really good option, and he's also 7.5. I think there's quite a few
7.5.
good, like you say, 7.5 options. Yeah.
Yeah, that I predicted this. I did a couple of price prediction videos. I said they're just going to make them all 7.5, and that's exactly what they've done.
Yeah,
Um,
and actually, and then we've got a couple of newbies, coming into that as well. So obviously, Ekatike as well, and
yeah,
Isak if he becomes an option for Liverpool, who knows? Maybe later on, not
I've not
sure.
even thought about Ekatike.
Yeah,
I just I, I can't. I
eight
don't
point
think he's going to
five.
play. I don't think he's going to play game week one. But if we get a team leak and he's starting, I don't know. That is
That's
one good
interesting.
differential.
Yeah, agree. Um, so they're playing Yokohama Marinas, I think. Marinas? Yokohama? Yeah, I think they're playing Japan pre-season tonight over here
Oh
in
yeah,
Australia, timing anyway. So yeah, keep losing track of what day. It's Tuesday for you still, or kind of.
it's about to tick over. Yeah,
It's about to
pretty much.
go over. Yeah. It's Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. Over here. But yeah, I'm looking forward to just seeing. I think Ekatike is going to play in that match. Probably get subbed on, I imagine, or maybe start. Not sure. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how he plays with the rest of the team. I mean, look, we're just looking so different at the moment. It's really hard to call how things are gonna shape up by the time game week one comes around, and there's a couple of other sort of friendlies coming up before then as well. So yeah, it'll be really interesting, and then so much noise around Isak as well right now. So trying not to kind of think about that too much, and again, just focusing it on price points at the moment. So that 9
Yeah.
million price point and a 7.5, as I've got sort of up on the screen there, is where my head's at as well. So I don't think I'll be going for an Isak, even at 10.5 in Liverpool. I probably won't go there unless he just kind of kicks off, and that might come a little bit later, maybe wildcard, post wildcard, that kind of thing. But Ekitike potentially, and would be a really good differential. Gyökeres, as you mentioned, maybe as well, 9 million. So that Watkins spot right now, Watkins, Gyökeres, Ekitike, even Bowen, just really interesting players to consider as that sort of premium that is not Isak and Haaland.
Yeah, it makes you feel comfortable as well, having those two price points. I see a popular strategy is having three cheap forwards. I've seen a few drafts with that. It To me, I don't feel comfortable doing that because even though the forwards might all be good value, if someone like a Gyökeres or Watkins or Ekitike or Isak pops off and suddenly starts doing well, you're gonna have to take a hit if you want them. Otherwise, you're just gonna have to completely ignore them and just pray they don't continue.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think flexibility is so important at the start. So yeah, I think so. A 6 mil defender, I'm definitely gonna have a mid-priced midfielder, definitely gonna have, and then I'm pretty certain I'm going to have a 9 mil and a 7.5 forward.
Yeah, just putting just a couple of extra options in there that
Yeah, I
we
really
may
like
be considering.
the price point thing you've done. It's really
Yeah, I
I
just
think it's
find
a
it
great way of
easier
visualizing
to
it.
just to work with from a, can I swap players in and out? Because that's something I remember in my first season I really struggled with. Second
Mm,
season I started thinking about it like that, and it really helped, and especially if I'm maximizing as well. So whilst like the price points that I had previously, this is now 100 mil exactly because I dropped that 5.5 down, so that's now 100 mil there. But I don't normally maximize on 100 mil. I usually sort of have zero point 0.5 left in the bank or 1 million left in the bank. I try to,
mm,
just because it means if I want to upgrade because of price changes, especially in the first game week or two,
mm.
I've got the flexibility to do that very quickly. When you
So
maximize
are
with
you
100 mil, you can't.
yeah. Are you quite passive with transfers then? Do you make them quite late?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I think I go in with the mindset that I have a team that I don't want to make transfers with, at least for the first 3 game weeks. But I don't hold that position too tightly as well. So if I
Yeah.
feel, okay,
Uh,
I've made not a great call here, and I'd rather just upgrade, downgrade, then having a bit of that cash is useful.
yeah, I play it quite differently. So I don't think I've ever started a season where I haven't used the full 100 million.
Okay.
Because I've got these price points with these players.
Yeah.
Uh, at the start of the season, I see a lot of advice going around about, money doesn't really matter, be passive, information is worth a lot more than these funds. I'm very aggressive with transfers at the start of the
Yeah.
season. If I
Okay.
want players, if I want a player in, I get them in immediately before they rise in price because of how FPL price players and point 0.5 chunks, a player going down that you have by point 0.1 or going up by point 0.1 that you want
Yeah.
is basically point 0.5. It's basically point 0.5 because it completely prices you out of a player. And
Yeah.
I learnt that the hard way with Kwanzaa last season
Oh, of
when
course.
I he went down to 3.9 and all of a
I went
sudden
there.
I couldn't get rid of him and he was
Yeah.
just stuck there and he was
Yeah.
constantly going lower. And yes, he was a 4 million defender, so it didn't really matter that much.
Yeah.
But I think at the start of the season, gaining those little point ones is really crucial. So I only move to that. Most of the time I'm quite passive. I wait as long as possible to transfers, but
Yeah.
I only do that around game week 9, game week 10.
Yeah.
The first
Okay.
few weeks I'm very quick to make transfers if I want to make them,
Yeah.
because I think those price rises I think they're quite crucial at the start.
Yeah.
So that
Absolutely.
my
That's a good
point
point.
was that's why I use the full budget
Yeah.
because I've priced it so I can do the swaps. I can swap Watkins to Gyökeres. I can swap. Well, I can't swap Rogers to Eze, so that may be something I need to consider.
Yeah.
But I can
I
do,
think the
especially in defense.
defense. I think the
Yeah,
defense is where I've slipped up a few times now, where we've seen them not start like minutes, for example, which is why I made sure I wrote that one down as a quick check as well from a minutes point of view. But I did the Kwanzaa move and, had him to start the season last season. And whilst I had a really good start to the season, largely down to playing my triple captaincy on Haaland in game week 2 as well,
oh yeah,
I couldn't shift Kwanzaa from my team because I maximized on my budget, and
yeah.
it wasn't as simple as just taking him out and bringing another player in because I didn't have the money for it. And so I just left him like for a couple of extra game weeks. I just left him my team because I think Kwanzaa went down by game week 2 or 3 to 3.9, and because like I think he got pulled halfway through game week 2 match, I think, for Liverpool. I can't remember. I
Game
think
week
it was
one.
game week 1. There you go. Yeah, so it was
It
the
was game
first
week
game
one. He
week.
got because he
Yeah.
got pulled off at half time. Yeah, and then he didn't
Yeah.
he didn't start ever again.
Yeah. So maximizing on my budget and having him drop to 3.9, by game week 2, game week 3 just meant I couldn't take him out because I just didn't have the money for it.
Yeah, with the case of Kwanzaa, it was okay because unless you were relying on him, which then I think the learning point would be don't
Don't
make
rely
sure
on
you're not in a
your
position
4
where you're
mil.
relying on a 4 million defender. Yeah, um, it's the kind of position where you can just
Yeah.
shove him on the bench and play someone else. But yeah, you could have other ones which they could be hard to move on, and there might be that player who's going off. I think
Yeah.
there's always there's always one every season.
There
I
is.
think for me personally, there's always one that is a bandwagon that you jump on and you get right, and it's all great. And
Yeah.
there's one that you never do, and it kills you every week. My most infamous one for me, I can't remember which season it was, but it was the season when Almiron just went absolutely mad,
Oh,
and
yes.
I never owned him because I thought it would just eventually run out, and it never did. He just kept
20
scoring, kept
22,
killing me.
23 season, I think.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
just kept. So I didn't make the mistake this season with Wood because he was a similar one which everyone thought would run out. I jumped on it
Yeah.
and he just kept going and he just kept having one shot and scoring it every game.
So, whilst we've got just a couple of price points sitting there in the draft that we're
Mm.
making up, Charlie, if you had to go for a 4.5, I guess you're not really expecting, this player to get many minutes. Where are you? Like, what
At the
did you sort
4.5
of?
forwards,
Yeah,
no, I've not. It's
not
currently
work.
Obi in my
Yeah,
team from
yeah,
Man United. I've not. I don't. That is a completely. They're going to be last on my bench.
yeah.
I mean, the only one who I seen who's got any chance of really getting minutes is Krupi Junior for Bournemouth, who they have signed as a striker.
Yeah.
He's basically their only other striker outside of Evan Nilsson.
Oh,
He
okay.
reminds me very much of. Do you remember the first season Semenyo was in the game
Yeah,
two
yeah,
seasons ago, and he was a
yeah,
4.5 forward?
yeah. Nice. Yeah.
Feels very reminiscent of that.
Potential. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. One to look out for there. 4 million goalkeeper.
It was Darlow, but of course Leeds have signed
Yes, they
a
have. I
goalkeeper.
saw that this
So
morning.
rest in peace, Darlow. You were in my draft for a
Yeah.
week, and now you're not.
You-
It's currently Kinski, just
Kinski.
because he's the only one who I think Frank has come out and said hasn't picked his number one yet, so he has got a chance of being a starting goalkeeper. There's also now rumours he might not even be at the club at the start of the season. But yeah, currently, if I'm going to spend all that money on a goalkeeper, it's just going to be a set and forget
Yeah.
Pickford or someone of that same caliber. Or if I can find a goalkeeper rotation, I think there might even be scope to go for a 5 million and a 4.5. I might look at those rotations because I
Yeah.
haven't actually looked at those.
Yeah, I quite like that. I was looking at cells, to do a double up on the
Mm.
Forest, defense. And also, very tentative, but maybe a Sanchez, as well, like just to kind of get some of those potential clean sheet points, at sort of
10
5 million
million.
as well. So what's
10
that?
mil on keepers. Oh, do you mean just one of them or
Just
both?
one. No, no, just one.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Just
I was
like
going
a
to say 10
five.
million on goalkeepers. Oof,
No,
that's
no. It'll be a 5 million and a 4 million, or I go
okay.
for
Yeah.
a 4.5 and a 5 million potentially. But
Mm,
yeah, I think if Kinski is getting, if he's like seems like the first goalkeeper for Spurs at the moment. Anyway, like from what we're hearing, obviously closer to time we'll learn more.
mm.
But otherwise, yeah, I might be thinking about 4.5 and maybe an Areola, going there. I know Kelleher's a very popular pick at the moment at Brentford. Not sure, so keeping that option open. I've not really considered a 5.5, if I'm honest. I've not really gone, yeah, I really want
Mm.
an Allison or a Raya or a Pickford. I've not really gone there. Were there many other 5.5s actually? Those are the three that I can think of top of my head, but I
So
think
there's four.
Martinez, maybe?
No, Martinez is five. So
Okay.
There's Raya, Allison,
Edison?
Edison,
Yeah.
and Pickford. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Edison, I mean, we should probably talk about Trafford because he's now
Oh,
signed for
yes, of course.
Man City.
Yeah.
And I mean, it could just very easily be a rotating goalkeeper thing, couldn't it?
Yeah,
We'll have to
yeah.
wait and see what happens because I think Ortega's almost certainly out the door now.
Yeah.
See what happens with Edison. But yeah,
Yeah.
5 mil for City's goalkeeper. If he's nailed, that is like,
That's not
I
bad.
mean,
Yeah.
I think 8 Nuri is going out of a lot of drafts if that's the
Yeah.
case.
Yeah.
Because
I,
yeah, that's a
I reckon
really good value.
so. And I think, look, the gaping obvious thing over here right now, at least what we've got on the screen in the draft that we've, just been talking through, doesn't have any City players. And so, yeah, I'm not drafting City players at the moment either. And like from where I'm at anyway,
No
from
Arsenal either.
no Arsenal. Yeah. I've not gone there
Mm.
yet either. Yeah, I don't know. Is that a mistake? I'm not sure. anyone
Ah,
still
they do have a
anyone still in the
tough.
chat, still listening to us after 2 hours? Thank you for being there. Please do like if you're still enjoying it. But do you have Arsenal players or do you have City players? Like we talked about, like covering. I don't know if that comes up in your thought process as well. Like when I'm thinking about covering City, in the past, like I've had Guardiola in my team, and that's kind of a little bit from a defensive side, but also mostly, the clean sheet potential. Not that they've had that many as well in the grand scheme of things, but also attacking potential as well. And so,
Mm.
yeah, but this time round, I think with the defensive, contribution or the C bit, and I'm not really considering, City or Arsenal defence at the moment. I probably will more from an attacking point of view, and then Gabriel and Saliba potentially just because they were slightly better than the other options. But right now, yeah, I just can't bring myself to go there with so many other good options available.
Yeah, Lewis Skelly was someone who I had my eye on before the game launched and before the announcement of the DEFCON points. I think that's definitely changed my thinking a lot. But from the talk as well, because I was worried that Calafiori is still there and he's a left back, so why couldn't he
Yeah.
just play left? But apparently, a lot of fans think that Lewis Skelly will just become the left back. Like Calafiori is just going to become a essentially a backup for either centre back or left back.
Yeah.
You got White and Timber as well for right back. I think, yeah, that stability you get from Saliba and Gabriel. Gabriel's interesting with because obviously he went through that period last season where he
Yeah.
just kept scoring from corners. It was absolutely
I had
ridiculous.
him.
Yeah, I didn't. I had him far too late. But he just kept scoring goals, and it really tailed off at the end of the season. And I was wondering if I think teams started to figure it out. I think they started to figure out how to defend them, and also really good bit of analysis I saw. What Arsenal ended up doing is overloading by having
Yeah.
Gabriel and Saliba and all that in the box. All teams started doing is just putting less people in the box and more out as an attack because
Yeah.
then Arsenal couldn't put the players in the box because if they lost the corner, they'd then immediately be counter-attacked and overloaded.
Yeah.
So it really dried up near the end of the season. So I'd be interested to see if it continues like it was. I don't think it will. I think teams started to figure it out.
I agree. I agree. I think yeah, I mean, this is where I am similar sort of, thinking at the very least, like from Arsenal players and City especially, because again, they usually there's at least like one of them I usually draft. And I think the
Mm.
first player that I wrote down as well was Salah. And yeah, and then it's like, okay, who else is going to be in the team? But just on the point of Salah, I know like there's a bit of conversation out there in the FPL sphere around, does Salah's output get impacted with all these attacking players that Liverpool are bringing in as well? Do you have any sort of early thoughts around that? Obviously, we're still in pre-season watching some of the friendlies and matches going on, but any initial thoughts on that?
I think personally, I think yes. I think the level of output and goal involvement that Salah was having is like totally unsustainable. I mean, I remember at one point in the season checking it. I think it was near about 80% goal involvement. It was absolutely ridiculous. It still ended at about 60%
Yeah.
at the end of the season. I just don't think that can continue. However, when it comes to points, if Liverpool is scoring more goals, it doesn't matter if his goal involvement's less because if there's more goals happening, he's probably still in the points.
Yeah.
So I think his output will be slightly lower, but it's really difficult to tell. I mean, I mean, how I look at it, I need to see how Wirtz does
Yeah.
because Wirtz doesn't strike me as a player. I mean, everyone's already comparing him to Coutinho. Or like he doesn't strike me as a player who's going to get loads of goals and assists. I feel like he's going to be a lot more of a creative player in the middle
Yeah. Assisting the
to
assister
feed.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, pre-assists or getting assists. I don't think he'll score many goals. And then I mean Ekatike, I'm worried about him as a signing because I'm just paranoid it's going to be another Darwin Núñez. I saw
Oh, don't say that.
compilations of him missing a lot. He underperformed his XG by 6, I think, last season. Yeah, he doesn't strike me with confidence. So I hope I'm totally wrong about that, honestly. But yeah, he worries me a little bit. And now Isak as well. Like it's a lot of
It's a
names.
lot.
It's a lot of names. I just can't draw any concrete conclusions until
Yeah.
I see what that lineup looks like. I mean, I've seen
Yeah.
lineups and completely disregarding Soboslai, and he is the
Yeah.
absolute engine
He's
in
one of
that
my
team.
faves. Yeah. Yeah.
I just can't. I just don't think you can take him out. So therefore,
No.
if he's still in the centre and you've still got McAllister and Gravenberch, does that mean Wirtz goes on the left? Does that mean you put Gakpo more centrally? Like, I need to see what this team looks like because
Yeah.
at the
I
moment
think
I've no idea.
yeah, absolutely. I've been listening to like the Anfield rap a little bit, and yeah, they've been talking about sort of just the versatility and just having the flexibility of the players that can play out of position. And I think we'll probably see more of that. And I think if we really want to contend for UCL and FA Cup and, obviously try and win the Prem again as well, I think having that depth is super important, of course, I do feel like we're lacking in defense, at the moment. And so seeing all these
Yeah.
attacking players coming in, I'm like, oh, guys, just spare a thought for the centre back, kind of
We
position,
definitely
please.
Yeah, I think we're absolutely fine with the fullbacks. Yeah, I definitely think we need another centre back.
Yeah.
I don't think Kanate can stay fit for a full season, and João Gomez, Joe Gomez as the backup. Now we've
Yeah.
sold
He's injured.
Kwanzaa.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We need another centre back. I'd be amazed if we get Gahey because I think he'll want to be a starter as well. That feels like insane in terms of them swapping. We need
Yeah.
that ideal player who's willing to essentially be a backup, but
Yeah.
also really good.
Yeah. I agree. And I think like Completely agree about the Szoboszlai, convo. I can't see him not being in the team, but yeah, I think just that depth and flexibility, and I think we'll probably see a bit more sort of, rotation as well. And this is where, when we think about, the number one thing that I just wrote down anyway, minutes. Yeah, I think from a confidence point of view, Van Dijk is definitely, high up there on the confidence rating, and then Salah obviously up there as well. But from the attacking spot, I think you could still, like, from a price point of view, we were talking about 9 million. If Isak does go off, then we're going to be like breaking our teams, the template, and just
Yeah.
trying to get Isak in. But that's a whole 1.5 million more.
Yeah, and I'm buying Watkins because his fixtures, his first two aren't very good, but then it's really good. So if that happens, I think I've just got to stick by it. I think I've just got to stick with Watkins and go, well, I bought him for these upcoming
Yeah,
fixtures. I'm gonna have to hope he just gets close or matches
yeah.
Isak in that case. I do another thing about the way I play, because despite the fact I've gotten, I think, a lot more patient and therefore my rank is a lot better. I think every single season I've always wildcarded really early. I've wildcarded
Yeah, okay.
game week 3, game week 4 most of the time, which is interesting because you spend so long building a draft for so many weeks, and why are you wildcarding that early? I think you gain so much. You gain the most information you're ever going to get in the season
Yeah.
from the first 1 or 2 game weeks. You learn so much, and I mean, last season it really, really worked out in my favor because I got in Palmer right before that Brighton absolute
Yeah,
mega haul.
nice. Yeah.
Just little
I
things like
didn't.
that, which, yeah, yeah, it was. I mean, yeah, that was an absolutely like it was
Yeah.
stupid. The once in a blue moon return in that
Yeah.
game. It was the fact he got 4 goals in the first
I
half,
know,
and
it's
he
nuts.
was unlucky. He could have got
Yeah.
7. Like it was. I remember watching the highlights and thinking, like, because knowing he'd score 4 goals, watching match of the day, I was like, oh, here's one of the goals. Oh, wait, he didn't score that. Okay, here's another. Here's one of the goals. Wait, he didn't score that either.
Yeah.
like, yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, I wild card early most of the time, which I would like to avoid this season if I can.
Okay, interesting. So where are you think, like, I mean, the fixture ticket that I was showing on the screen earlier, I had wildcard around 7, potentially around 11, 12 kind of mark as well.
Mm.
But I'm not averse wildcarding early as well, and I've done that previous seasons too. I think, in fact, the best season I've had, which was around that 2.5K overall. I think I wildcarded really early, around 5 or 6 game week, roughly,
Mm.
and not because there were fixture swings or anything like that, but just because, yeah, I needed to change up my team, and so yeah, I did it. And I think this is the thing, like, I'm trying not to get swayed by where everyone is thinking about wildcarding, or, like where the fixture swings are, that kind of thing. If it feels right
Mm.
for your team, because you've made, perhaps you want to change up the team because, like you say, you learn so much in the first couple of game weeks, then so be it. There's no sort of fixed time to,
Yeah.
go and wild card or not wild card. And, there's a lot, I mean, you'll always hear the noise, right? I remember sort of putting that out there, and I had a bunch of people, on Twitter at the time, when it was still called Twitter anyway, who said, why are you wild carding so early? And I'm like, well, because I want to, and
Yeah.
that's okay. So, yeah, I'm not sure at the moment. But quick question about bench boost. So I've been thinking about a
Yes.
bench boost. I'm not sort of wedded to, going with a bench boost. I've never played bench boost game week 1. But because we've got 2 bench boosts, and I don't like that chip at all, I'm thinking, do I just get it out the way and do bench boost game week 1? Obviously, with the team that we've got up on the screen right now, perhaps not the best sort of bench boost, type of team. In fact, I'll show you a team that I was playing around with on here. So I did a Haaland and Salah one, which I'll come to if we've got a bit of time for it. But this is kind
Bench
of what
boost.
I was playing around with. So it's not like they were just, again, placeholder sort of price points that I was looking at, but not kind of wedded to it as well. So obviously, I think based on what we were just talking about, so Rogers, and sorry, over here, if I just kind of change those like just really quickly, so I quite like the idea of going Rogers and just having a little bit. So I've got too much Aston Villa there, so let's just take that out and put in Munoz in there as well. I'll probably take out Tielemans, and you had and die. Let's just kind of go there as well. So you can see that's like maximizing on the budget there. Obviously, I haven't got bench boost active at the moment. I'm trying not to focus on this expected points too much. But yeah, I'm trying to kind of work out, could this be a good bench boost team? Wan-Bissaka, look, I'm not, again, doesn't need to be. Same with the João Pedro, pick over here. So like I think Solanke is the popular one at the moment. Take that out. But 4.5s. There's not many good options. But I think you mentioned Obi. But if I'm thinking bench boost, I probably won't. But here's Krupi, the
Yeah,
one that you did
you'd have to
mention.
go to 5.5 in
Yes.
the forwards if you want to go
Yeah,
for a bench boost.
yeah, absolutely. And that's where
Um,
like going to a Beto might be okay to go with as well.
oh my God, there's an undo button.
Yeah.
I never noticed
Did you
that.
not know?
I never knew there was an undo button.
You can undo as well,
Oh my
which is
God, that
great.
saved so much time. I never noticed there was an undo
But
button.
even like like a Chris Wood, too much from Forest there. But yeah, like if I just stick with what we had picked in the other lineup that we were looking
Yeah.
at. Um,
So in terms of the bench boost Gameweek 1, it's so I the problem is I always like people going for different ideas, and I never want to be I will only say your team is bad if you've picked players who don't play. That is
yeah.
literally it. Like if you've picked players who are playing in the game, I will say, yeah, good, like fine, like whatever. But for Game Week 1 bench boost, I personally I've not looked at it at all. I'm set on not doing
Not
it
doing it. Okay.
just because I I can't think of a worse time to use it because you've
We
got
just don't know enough.
maximum uncertainty about every team. You have
Yeah.
the lowest team value you're gonna have in the whole season. I get you have unlimited transfers to make the bench boost whatever you want in terms of the fixtures, but I almost guarantee you in the
Yeah.
19 or the 18 other weeks you're going to have before you need to use this bench boost, at some random point, you will have either a better bench or you can make one transfer to make it a better bench. So like maybe it's worth considering having rotating goalkeepers so it's more
Yeah.
viable. I obviously, in my position, will have to transfer out that 4.5 forward for someone. I'll have to do at least
Yeah.
two transfers to set it up. But I mean, I remember my high scoring benches just randomly happening. So for me personally, with the bench boost, I'm really going to spend
That's
very
good.
little effort.
Yeah.
I'm just going to play it when the bench looks good at some point. I'm not going to put
Yeah.
many resources into it. It
Yeah.
will just happen naturally at some point.
I like that. And I think that's really good advice because I feel like I've not been able to plan them very well over the last couple of seasons. I mean, to be fair, I've only had 4 seasons. So I've not
Hmm.
been able to plan them. First season, I'm not including, but the last three, I've tried and I've got maximum maybe 7 to 12 points, and I'm content with the 12.1 that I got roughly. But whenever I've planned, I've just not, I've like ripped up my team. I've kind of, wild carded and then gone straight into a bench boost. Didn't work out. There's a whole bunch of reasons for it. But that's a really good point. I think it will just happen, and if it happens, you just kind of hit the button and go for it.
I think the best advice I can give with the chips is wildcard is by far the strongest one because you can make unlimited transfers. It saves you so many points from the hits and the changing of so many players. The threshold for points gained from that is astronomical. It could be absolutely massive.
Yeah.
The bench boost is like it's so overrated in terms of how many points you're going to get from it. It's, at best, most of the time we're seeing bench boost 30 is probably the best you're going to get, but most of the
Yeah.
time it's getting somewhere like 15, 20, whatever. But it takes so many resources to do it. And the thing that I've learned is that in FPL, we have very few, like we can make loads of decisions, but the main decisions that matter to us is who's our captain and who are we starting from our bench players. Those two decisions every single week you'll find throughout an entire season can
Yeah.
cost you in a single game week 15, 20 points every single game week
Definitely.
just because you captain the wrong person. The bench boost, in terms of the amount of points is going to get you, like a good one versus a bad one, is about the same.
Yeah.
Like, it's really not that big of a deal if your bench boost doesn't do well. And the worst thing you can do with a bench boost is spend loads of resources setting it up and it still goes
Still
bad.
goes
If you
bad.
spend no time doing it and it goes bad, so what? It doesn't really dictate your season at all.
No. No.
But it's much worse if you spend all that time, all those hits, all those resources, and then
Yeah.
it goes bad. It's even worse. And then
Yeah.
the triple captain. I mean, it's not really much worth talking about a triple captain because it's literally just when do you think is the best captain? That's it.
Yeah.
There's
Like I played it in
no
Game Week 2 last season. And again, it was like, well, yeah, kind of feels right. Want to get it out the way, just get it out the way. But it gave me a really good boost, earlier on in the season and then was able to maintain it for a while. But yeah, I think you've talked me out of a bench boost one. Thank you for that.
Again, I don't like if you really make a bench boost team and you love it, go for it. But in my honest opinion, it's one of the worst weeks to play it, just from the limited information, limited value.
Yeah.
What I was going to say in terms of the chips while we're on it, so I do predict lineups every week. I
Yeah.
do goals conceded thread every week. I'm going to bring a new one next
Oh,
season. I'm calling it a chip checker, and essentially because we've got these
chip
chips,
checker.
these new
Yeah.
chips, I'm going to basically assess the viability of using
Viability.
each chip
Nice.
every week. Is it a good week to bench boost? Is it a good week
Yeah.
to free hit? And free hit is the one I'm most excited about because it means I just make a free hit draft every single week. Because that one is so heavily team dependent because it's not about weird way of looking at it. It's not about when the free hit team looks the best. It's about when the free hit team looks the best amount than your current team,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So if you've got a free hit team, the estimated points is like 90, but your current team is 70, you're gaining 20 points. Whereas if you've got a free hit team that's estimated 80 points, but your current is
Yeah.
40, that's the better time to play it. So that's really like I'm really excited for that because I think
That
we'll see free
sounds
hits.
so
I,
good.
I think we'll see free hits in so many different game weeks. I'm
Yeah.
really looking forward to seeing all the wacky shenanigans that because as a casual previously, I used the free hit in random game weeks and it was
Yeah.
it was so much fun. It backfired more often than not. I got bailed out this season by Bruno. It was the week when Bruno
Oh,
went
yeah. It
massive
went big.
and I
Yeah.
captained him. And it was a horrific free hit. Everyone blanked, and then Bruno literally turned I think it was like a 200k red arrow to 100k green
Wow.
because
Yeah.
by him alone.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to the free hit this
Yeah,
season.
and like I said, I'm looking forward to playing as a casual this season because I haven't, like my first season was a casual, completely just learning about the game. But the last 3 seasons, I've probably given FPL definitely a little bit more, attention and energy, and looking at, watching content, looking at a lot of data. But I'm really stripping that back this season and hoping to play a bit more like a casual because of all these new chips and new rules and things. I'm like, not because I don't want to invest time into really going full throttle on all the information available, but just want to try something different this season. So yeah, I'm gonna just pull back a little bit more and just see if I can consume less data and just stick to a couple of things, like I mentioned, like some of your threads. And Alex B has just given a massive shout out to you, to say thank you for all the content that you've been posting on X, and it's been a
That
game
Volo.
changer. Alex B, not
Oh,
Volo.
B.
Yeah, I don't know who
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is,
I thought
but
it was an XV. Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
thank you, mate.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, just strip back and play like a casual for a bit and see what happens. I might sort of hit the millions or something and be like, no, I've got to change this. try and have a good, rank this season. But yeah, if I can beat 26K, then I'll be very, very happy. We are hitting like just over 2.5 hours, probably the longest one I've done in a really long time. It's been such a great conversation, though. I feel like I've learned so much from you, Charlie, and just talking about your different sort of perspectives, experiences, and just advice along the way as well. It's been invaluable. And I do appreciate your time. I know it's gone past, like it's sort of 12:30
Absolutely
a.m.
fine.
over there, and
Yeah.
like I mentioned, I don't really have any meetings on this morning, so that's really nice as well. The flexibility of working from home and scheduling your own kind of time and meetings and stuff. But there's a whole bunch of you watching or listening to the stream. Thank you again for being there. Please do hit like and subscribe. I was aiming for 1,000 subscribers last season. Couldn't make it happen. Wasn't around for at least sort of 4 or 5 months of last season, unfortunately. But I'm really hoping to hit 1,000 subscribers this season. So yeah, if you want to see more of this kind of content and catch some of the guests that I'll be having on this season as well. Hopefully having Charlie back to talk about our game weeks at some point as well, if we can make
Yes.
time zones
We'll have
align.
a mid-season catch up because I'll be
Yeah.
desperate to find out how playing casually is working because like I
Yes.
said about UCL Fantasy, I played UCL Fantasy as a casual
Yeah.
and I think I was in the top 100 at one point. It
Oh
was
wow.
like it was remarkable spending so little time thinking
Yeah.
about my team and yet I was doing better. So
Yeah.
I think there's definitely some value in there taking in less content and just you almost rely more on gut. You just
Yeah.
go on your gut, like,
That's
yeah,
it.
that's what I think. Let's go for it. Bam.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's it. Look, I carried on playing FPL, like I was in the UK for those few months, and my dad was in hospital for like a month and a bit, and I had
Mm.
family members around me. We were all still playing, making transfers, but I wasn't consuming any content, and I was making last minute transfers and just on vibes and gut kind of calls, and I played better because I wasn't thinking
Mm.
about it too much and not consuming any, content data. I was leaning on a couple of friends in the community to sort of go, anything I should know, and I'm thinking this, and a quick sort of, sense check. But aside from that, playing casually during that period definitely helped me in a big way. So maybe I'll see how it goes. I'll report back. I'll definitely be sharing, that part of my journey as well, like what it means to play like a casual after not playing like a casual for the last couple of, seasons as well. But yeah, look, I think we might sort of leave it there. Was there anything else that you wanted to cover, Charlie? I look for those that are watching still. If you have any questions, maybe pop them up now in the chat. I'll try and sort of grab them. If you posted a question a couple of hours ago, please do pop that question in again. It might be difficult to kind of scroll back up and find them. So yeah, if you want your question answered, please do pop them up. So while you're doing that, if there are any questions, I will take FPL Crisis, Ashley's question that he posted on Twitter or X, and his question was around the two players that might go off. So name two defenders, two midfielders you think will smash their price this season. Obviously, Rodgers was one of them last
Ooh.
season. Two might be challenging, but yeah, who comes to mind from a defender point perspective to start with?
So is this a whole season?
Yeah, like a prediction of, who you reckon. I think that's what he means. Name two defenders you
Yeah.
think will smash their price this
I'm
season.
not like I think potential wise to do so. Someone who's not been any of my drafts, but definitely has the potential to do this is De Kuyper, I think his name is for Brighton.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
Brighton fullback who I mean, if we see like a Stupinan of old from him, if he's nailed on and he continually like gets forward, scores goals, I
yeah.
think he's certainly someone that at 4.5 could absolutely make a mockery of that. If that's potentially the case. In terms of another defender, oh yeah, it is tough given this say season, especially because I'm looking at DEFCON points and smashing it. I mean, in terms of the DEFCON points, what, getting like 10 more over a season? Like, it's not going to be massive. One player I do really like is Agbadu from
From
Wolves.
Wolves. Yeah.
Um, I think Wolves are a team which have been completely disregarded from everyone. I know Arias has now joined, and now he's
Yeah.
really like a lot of people like him because he was so good at the Club World Cup, and he's 5.5, so he's very cheap. But again, if we see the Wolves of old, that really rigid defending team, I think Agbadu's come in and really solidified that defense. I
Yeah.
think that could be a super interesting one, just for consistency of clean sheets from Wolves.
Yeah.
And midfielders, uh,
Yeah. I
again,
think we're all looking for the next Rodgers, really, aren't we?
yeah, I don't know if we're gonna get it. In
No.
terms of the pricing, it's so hard because of the
I
yeah,
think
because of the pricing.
Adingra is interesting over at Sunderland now, but I just don't know
It's
how
very
Sunderland are going
yeah,
to.
very good
Yeah.
player. They've got a lot of good players now, Sunderland.
Yeah,
Like
they
Xhaka has
do.
joined. He is great. He's really
Yeah.
good. Diarra, they've got in midfield is really
Yeah.
good. They've still
Yeah.
got Maeda up top,
I'm
who's decent.
I'm liking the
Talibi
transfers
as
they're
well, a new
making.
signing, a right winger is really good. Like all of these new players are good, so they've
Yeah.
clearly made some statements here. Maybe they are going to be quite good in attack. I think in terms of the midfielders, what was it? Making mockery of their price. Yeah, the Rodgers, right? So I guess we're looking at the cheap
The
ones.
cheap ones,
Um,
yeah. I mean, I'll go in. Actually, I'll just so everyone can see what we're looking at. So we were just looking at the midfielders' expected points at the moment, but if we look at, we'll just go over here and go midfielders, and maybe just kind of aim for 5.5. I guess Anderson, could
I'm
be a
gonna
good.
say, I know we're talking about Rodgers like players and from the same team. I'm gonna go for
Yeah.
Marlin
Oh
from
yes,
Villa.
yeah, from Villa.
Because
Yeah,
as it stands,
yeah.
apart from Rodgers, who can play on the right, they don't really have another player that can play on the
That's a
right.
good
And if
point.
he's
Yeah.
consistently playing 5.5 million, I don't think he'll play many minutes like when he starts. But his attacking output was insane per 90 when he did play. He just played very little, but I think he's someone that could just play a certain lot. And if Watkins for some reason comes off early, he can go up top. So he
Yeah.
could be insanely good value.
Belieber is probably another one where I'm curious, how that goes for Brighton. I think 5 million is a really good price point as well. Minutes, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I like I'm not touching anyone like Ruta, Matoma, Minte, like
No,
because
it's
again,
just too much.
I do predicted lineups each week. I know them pretty well. There'd just be random weeks where I get 6 out of 11 because they just
Yeah.
rotated everyone, and I could never predict it. So yeah,
Yeah, just going through
I
these
can't stand
names.
having my player like that just getting one pointers every so often. It's just
Christie, I think Christie you mentioned there, 5 million as
yeah.
well. I mean, after that first fixture, it's not bad.
If it, if he's fully fit, if he's fully fit, because he's an absolute monster for the defensive recoveries.
Yeah.
He could easily crack 100 points, which for a 5 million midfielder is great.
Yeah.
If only he gets
Let's
over that
just go
groin
up to
injury because
Bourne.
he's
Yeah.
had that now since April, I think. So that
Mm.
is
There
three
you go.
months, I think, that injury, and he's not gotten over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as you can see, it affected his minutes. To be honest, you can see there from the a reason why I did this was to illustrate the teams. As you can see there, if any of those centre mids get good minutes for Bournemouth, so
Yeah.
Adams and Cook as well, are all above the threshold. If like Adams, I think I'm definitely going to keep an eye on because he's also 5 million.
Yeah, that's
He's
right.
really
Yeah.
good. He's
It's
a
good.
really good player. Could play a lot of consistent minutes, and we could see get over that threshold time and time again.
Yeah. But yeah, Christie at 5 million is not that bad, really. And like I say, the fixtures as well, they're not terrible after game week 1. You know, they've got Wolves, Spurs, Brighton, Newcastle, Leeds. That's not bad. 5 million. It's okay. And you're right. Like
The
if
other
he
one,
can stay fit.
the other team as well is if you go on the Spurs ones, the Spurs midfielders. My sorry, I mean my defensive
Oh yeah,
contributions.
sorry. Yep.
The
Defensive contributions. Oh, did you say
the
midfielders? Yeah.
Spurs midfielders, yeah.
Yeah.
I had to make one sheet just for Spurs because they've so many options.
There's so many options. Yeah,
But
there we go.
as you can see, look at all that green. If
Mm.
one of those centre mids could get nailed, could be
Yeah.
that sounds bad. Could be nailed in the team, uh, they'd be amazing
Yeah.
because they get such good recoveries per 90, but the defcons per 90. But
Mm.
the issue is, you can see from the minutes, none of them were ever consistently playing.
No. I agree. Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, again, you know, new manager, Son maybe leaving as well. It looks like at the moment, don't know. But yeah, everyone's going Kudus at the moment as well. I'm seeing him in so many drafts as well.
How much is Tell? Because if Son leaves, then you'd expect Tell to get very good minutes at left wing.
You would.
Tell
I'm
is
not sure. Let's see.
Tell is six and a
Tell.
half. Okay, so he's the same as Kudus. If he was 6 million, I'd be very
Yeah.
interested.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Just
No,
going
good
back
question.
here, just yeah, having a look at a couple of questions in the chat. So Alex B asked, what have you got planned to post and you know next this season? So you mentioned the chips. What did you call it again? The chips.
Chip checker.
Chip
Chip
checker.
checker.
That's going to be
We're calling
catchy.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that predicted lineups and goals conceded, Fred. I'll just try to do
Yeah.
those three
Yeah.
things.
Nice.
I might look at the DEFCON points, see
Mm.
how that's going through the season. I'm assuming the thing is, I think everyone will be doing. I think
Yes.
people. I try to make stuff that's fairly unique that no one else does. So,
Yeah.
I like at the very start, I used to do because I did team selection videos and I
Mm.
did like just like selecting like I think like recommending players. Like I think this player is really good. Problem is loads of people do that, and
Mm.
I don't find any value in just adding yet another opinion like that. So I
Yeah.
try to make content that's different.
Mm.
I know predicted lineups is not exactly the most unique concept, but I don't think anyone else predicts every single lineup for every team. So it's
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I try to make stuff that's a bit unique, and yeah, I think the chips thing because we're now using them in single
Mm.
game. I'll probably stop doing it after game week 19, but
No, I think it's
because
worth. Yeah, it's worth sort of monitoring at least for half the season.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
how
when
that
double game
goes.
weeks come around, it will be just it'll be obvious to
Yeah,
when chips are going to be used. I'm more excited about that because it promotes a lot more variety with
I
our
think so.
thinking.
Yeah, like in the beginning when I heard about the double chips, I was like, oh no, they're making it easy. But actually, it makes it more interesting because we save so
Yeah.
many of these chips for later, you know, in the season. This sort of forces you to use them earlier. I think I can't remember whose podcast I was listening to, but they mentioned something about, you know, you're playing a chip every few get like I think it's like 4 game weeks or something like that on average, or every 5 game weeks. You know, this half of the season, typically, and then you've got all these extra transfers, and then obviously we've got AFCON, and then an extra 4 or 5 transfers or something like that we get as well. So it's going to be really interesting how much change. Like I feel like the holding on to transfers is going to be challenging. I think I'm going to be making more transfers like a casual, as well, and just playing chips based on how it goes.
Nice.
I think I'm going to find it hard, to just play like a casual.
The
It's
resist.
supposed to be easier.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. All right, we've got a question from Twill Media. I think that's FPL Hippie. Better defense early season, Wolves or Bournemouth?
Oh. Uh, I think I've got to say Wolves because Bournemouth have just been decimated. Like they've sold Hoyson, they've sold Kirkez, they're looking to sell Zabani as well. PSG are in for him, and they've sold Kepa. Like if you've got five defensive players there and you've got rid of four of them, surely unless Iriola is an absolute mastermind genius god, surely that defense is going to get worse.
Yeah.
They were, I think, expected goals conceded. I think they were the fifth best. They were really solid. So I will say Wolves, but maybe we might get surprised. We might get surprised
Yeah.
by ball.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, it'll be interesting. And like you say, the first couple of game weeks is where we're going to learn the most, and we're still so far away from the deadline as well, or a solid week and a half or so, isn't it? Or actually, when does the game
Two
launch?
weeks.
2 weeks, 2.5 weeks
15th of
actually.
August. Yeah,
Bloody
yeah.
hell, long way to go.
2 weeks, 3 days, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's still a while to go. All right, I don't think there's any more like questions in the chat. At least they've not been sort of reposted. Thank you and shout out to everyone that made it, this long as well and in the chat. Thank you for being there and sticking with it as well. Please do like and subscribe. We do appreciate you guys tuning in. It's been fun, bringing this type of content to you. Especially, and it's been amazing having Charlie on the show as well. So yeah, making your debut. But like I said, it'd be great to have you back and talking about, especially some of the things that I guess some of the content you'll be putting out this season, but tracking them as well with how they're going, especially from a defensive contribution side as well. I think like your data has been invaluable, so far, like just kind of seeing it turn up on my feed. I'm like, this is really interesting. I'm just taking notes constantly around it. So yeah, really, really looking forward to just seeing how that sort of continues as well, and some of the new content that you're going to be putting out as well, Charlie. And thanks for giving up, almost 3 hours of your time this evening or early hours of the morning, from wherever you are watching. Thank you again. Do you want to do any plugins for your content or anything else?
Well, you've kind of shown a lot of it on X. That's basically where I do. Well, that is where I do everything now. I do have a YouTube channel which I don't post on now. So I might revive it at some point,
Yeah.
but at the moment I don't really have any intentions to do so. Yeah, so I'm gonna do predicted lineups. So I do it based on so not a day of the week, but based on how far away from the deadline it is.
Yeah.
So typically, if it's a Saturday deadline, predicted lineups will come out on the Friday. Goals conceded, Fred will be on the Thursday, and now I'll do this new chip checker, which is going to be on the Wednesday. So 3 days, 2 days, one day before
Yeah.
the
Love it.
deadline, and yeah, I just post stuff on X. I try to make it like this, like visually nice and easy to digest. So if you're on a time crunch and you just want some easily digestible stuff that you can bookmark and look at the beginning of the season, that's kind of my
Yeah.
jam. But yeah, I've really enjoyed coming on. It's been so nice to have like a very casual conversation about
Yeah.
FPL. Yeah, not being drilled in with questions. It's been more of a just talk about thinkings, and yeah, I've really enjoyed it.
Oh, I'm really glad. Definitely known to have had lots of long conversations with guests on. I always sort of aim for an hour and a half type of thing, but it always, extends out depending on who it is and the
This has happened.
conversations to have.
This happened with me quite a bit. I was talk FPL as well. I was on
Yeah.
his channel. It was over 2.5 hours, and he
Yeah.
estimated about an hour and a half.
But there's just so much to talk about, and I think like this particular stream was very much around draft strategy, and we definitely sort of drilled into that, especially from the new things that we're expecting this season. So there was plenty to go through, and it was really good to just have a tinker with the price points and the structures, and I guess like again bringing you content that is a bit more where I'm at in my own FPL journey, like in pre-season. There's lots lots of good content out there where there's lots of data and drafts that are being floated around. I didn't want to share too many like existing drafts that we've made at this stage because we're 2 and a bit weeks out still from the deadline, and that's going to change a lot. So I don't want to kind of put that kind of content out as well. But just looking at it from a structure point of view and the amazing data you've been pulling together from defensive contributions and just some of the new things that you're going to be working on ahead, of game week 1 as well. Lots of things will change in that time. So yeah, plenty to talk about. Thank you again, Charlie. Really, really do appreciate you, joining me on the show. Please do hit like and subscribe, everyone that's tuning in. Really looking forward to catching up with all of you again, probably next week. I think towards between now and the end of the pre-season or at the start of the new season even, I'm hoping to get a couple more guests on as well, and maybe talking a little bit about talking about mental health, but without sort of, the obvious mental health stuff. I think it's more, how to play the game as a casual and not get too sort of invested on occasions as well. Is the kind of conversation that I'd love to be having with a guest coming up. So yeah, stay tuned, and hopefully, I'll be able to post that up fairly soon as well. But otherwise, ciao for now. Take it easy. Enjoy pre-season. And Charlie, thank you once again.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Bye, guys. Thank you for tuning in.